Hello everybody. If you'd like to skip this verbal introduction, I'll leave a timestamp link in the description so you can get right into the quote-unquote action. This is part 2 of what was going to be a series. I say was because it was my intention to do an opening video, then I was going to release several follow-ups that explored different routes you can take. I've decided against that, both because it would have been unnecessarily lengthy overall, also because I've already released a video called Tourism Made Easy, which sort of demonstrates what I would call the brute force method. Namely, build your guilds as early as you can, work them right away, and just let your tourism build up gradually, which works. Before I continue, I wanted to emphasize that point. There's no wrong way to go about a cultural victory. Your tourism will overtake your opponent's culture eventually. It's just a question of how quickly. I will try to talk about the alternatives as I go, but I cannot stress enough that what you see in this video is by no means intended to be a representation of the only way or even the best way. It's just a way. In this case, we're going to be exploring achieving a cultural victory without the use of world wonders. Reason being that world wonders are not something you can get for sure. This is not going to be a verbose video. I'll be cutting away in between highlights to keep the runtime down. Anyways, part 1 was released separately because it accidentally ended up being a pretty remarkable open. You can find that on my channel. It's called Min-Max Shoshone Snowball Demonstration. This video picks up where that one left off. As you can see here, I was able to manage fixing my garbled text issue by deleting my cached game folder. Excuse me. Also, I've come to realize that I had a couple of workers improperly named. This is one I had stolen from Geneva and never named Geneva. And this is one I had named Geneva, but I had gotten it by way of tributing, and I've since learned that when you tribute, it treats the worker as if it was yours all along. Also, I had decided to settle this city here. I knew I was going to overlap, but I was trying to avoid tundra tiles here, as well as get the buffalo in range. And it's a lot more defensible where it's at. It's surrounded by hills and mountains, which is pretty nice. However, in retrospect, I think I probably should have settled the city here. There's not really going to be too much attacks coming from the south anyways. I would have had less overlap, and although a couple of the tiles would have been tundra, I'd have had more tiles overall. But most importantly, I would have been able to purchase or build a stoneworks in this city, and that one happiness, and especially the 2 hammers this early on, would have been good, since this is probably going to be a low production city. Another reason I didn't talk too much in the first video about working towards a Wonderless Cultural Victory is because there's not too much that you're going to do differently in the beginning. One thing you can do is try and settle your capital on a river. This is for 2 reasons. The first is so you can enjoy more early game growth from civil service river farms. This will help support all the specialist slots you'll be working later on. The second reason is so you can build a garden. Again, there's no wrong way to do a cultural victory, so you can still achieve it without a garden, but any boost in great people points will be helpful. Also, there's the consideration between opening with tradition or liberty. You can win a cultural victory while opening with liberty. However, I think you'll have an easier time going, in general, going with tradition. Landed elite and the finisher providing free aqueducts early on make for some pretty solid growth. This is nice since specialists harm your growth by not working food generating tiles. Tradition also helps by making happiness and gold easier to deal with. So let's start breaking down the game at hand. We're on Emperor difficulty with standard size and speed. It's turn 76 and the National College is underway in the capital, which is already receiving 1 internal trade route. Caravan is being built here while my other cities are building granaries. Part of the reason why I'm building granaries ahead of shrines, even though this is going to be a partially faith-based approach, is because both of these cities have 2 resources that will benefit from the granaries. So the granary is going to be kind of like a +4 food building, which is better than a +1 faith building at this point. Now, to help us achieve our goal, we're going to be playing as friendly a game as possible. This is for many, mostly financial reasons. For example, a civ cannot send us trade routes if we're at war with them. Also, getting open borders with the civ is a pretty easy way to add to your effective tourism against them. The friendlier you are, the cheaper you can get this. Also, you can get more money for your resources if you're friendly. And this is important for 2 reasons. First of all, we're going to want to bribe city-states. This will help us get more social policies earlier, will help our happiness, and will deprive other civs of tapping this resource of culture. Secondly, with a tight science game, you'll find that we'll be unlocking crucial buildings faster than you can build them. And we can make up for some of this by buying some buildings, which is also a great way to boost your science if you're able to have one of those buildings in the very turn they're available. And of course, if we can get away with building less military, that's more productive, more production that we can put towards achieving our victory. So let's get started. Okay, it's turn 79, and there was a concept that I wanted to cover. As you can see here, thanks to enhanced user interface, it indicates that William would like to buy my gold, wine, or incense, and he has 7 gold per turn that he can offer, which is fair. I only have 1 wine and incense, so I won't consider trading those, but I will consider trading my gold. So I'll hover over this and we see I do have 2 gold, however one's currently being exported, and will continue to be for the next 25 turns. So if I was to sell this off right now, my happiness would go down by 4. However, what we're kind of doing right now is saving up to be able to bribe a city-state, and what cultured city-state to be specific. Unfortunately, the only ones we've met so far both offer dies, so allying both will not be useful in terms of happiness. However, I don't have dies yet, so by selling off that gold now, I'll take a hit to my happiness, but I'll get to the 1,000 gold threshold faster. I'll be able to ally one of those city-states, at which point I'll have dies and get that happiness right back. Now this is partially a risk because I'm getting free aqueducts now, so my growth is going to shoot up significantly once the National College is finished. However, it's a risk I am going to take, not only because I think it's a good idea to do that for those reasons, but also because I have yet to hook up. I have truffles, but they're being sold out at the moment, so once I hook up this truffles, I will also have an increase in happiness there. Okay, it's now turn 84. The National College is finished. As you can see, I've gone ahead and reallocated my tiles for max growth. You might notice that I'm currently favoring gold intake over production. That's for a couple reasons, but to get into that I need to start talking some grand strategy. Right now our approach is going to be, as I mentioned in the last bit, part of the reason I want gold is to be able to bribe a city-state as soon as possible, a cultured city-state specifically. This is not only going to be to increase our own culture intake, but to deprive our enemies of the very essence that's going to work against our culture victory, which is culture. So we want to get that gold up as soon as possible, and the reason why I'm willing to gimp my production in the capital for a little bit right now is what I'm doing in my expands is I'm building shrines, and after that I'll be building temples. And that's because we want to get our faith generation up as much as possible. So all I have to do in the capital from now till the time when my expands are done building temples is build the Writers Guild and then build a temple. So I can actually gimp my production in the city for the moment to help my gold and growth. You can see here that my growth is such that it's impossible to speed it up to get a citizen in 1 turn, but if I drop so much as a single food, I'm going to cost myself another turn in getting my next citizen. So that's why I'm going with this arrangement here. Now part of the reason why we want to up our culture intake as much as possible is because we're shooting for 2 filler policies between tradition and rationalism. Namely, we're going to go for the piety opener and organized religion, and then after I have temples built in all my cities, I'll be building the Grand Temple in the capital. We want to increase our faith generation as much as possible for reasons that we'll go into later, but I just wanted to point out that this is the path that we'll be taking. It's too early for me to talk about ideologies, but I will go ahead and say that the approach I plan on demonstrating here will be making use of Futurism, which is a tenet of the autocracy ideology. For this reason, we actually want our great artists, musicians, and writers to come out as little as possible in the early game. That said, when the Writers Guild is finished, I still will be working it right away, just because that's going to be a +6 culture per turn, and that's going to be a pretty key point to getting these filler policies and still being able to open rationalism as early after we hit Renaissance as possible. Okay, it's turn 93, and I finally have enough gold to be able to ally a city-state of my choosing. Before I do that, by killing this ship, I actually become the ally of Ragusa, which is a maritime city-state. It'll give me food, which is nice. More importantly, it'll give me furs, which is a luxury that I did not already have, which will help usher in a golden age sooner, which is nice. It'll boost our culture intake in the meantime. As far as choosing which one, we have 3 to choose from. One I have 0 rep, so that would give me the lowest. These 2 I already have some rep with. I'm going to go with Florence. They both provide dyes, by the way, neither of which I have. I do have silver, and if we could buy enough rep, then you could sell off the silver you have, make some money. These both give dyes. I'm going to go with Florence, mainly because we are already friends with Kabul, so by doing this we'll get the most culture per turn possible. Also, you'll notice Kabul is giving us 6 culture. That's because I've hit civil service, and city-state bonuses have gone up. So now we've got the dyes from them. Our happiness goes up further. Golden Age comes in closer. That's nice. As far as tech path, I've gone theology on my way to education. I want to be able to build the Grand Temple as fast as possible. Right now, my main concern is that it would be nice if I could buy a university in the capital the turn it's available. However, since we just dumped 1,000 gold, it's not looking too promising. But sometimes your luxuries come back and you can sell them back out and stuff. So. We will see how that goes. Oh, also I forgot to mention that Florence wants me to generate a great profit. So now that we're allied with them, we're pretty much going to be their ally for a long time to come, which is great. I forgot to mention in the last bit that I did go ahead and found a religion. Tithe and pagodas are great go-to beliefs to pick up. I've already hinted at the fact that we're going to be going down the piety tree somewhat. We will be getting a Reformation belief. However, sacred sites, which turns faith-bought buildings into generators of +2 tourism each, is not the Reformation belief we are looking for, although it would be a acceptable plan B, so to speak. What we'll actually take is something is going to be based on what's available at the time. But for right now, I'm going to finish the temple in this city and then build an amphitheater because we do have a rider coming out soon enough. And Capital will build a grand temple once all that's done. As far as my expands go, we'll probably be building water mills before universities. Okay, it's turn 105, and it's actually a pretty big turn. We just hit education, so as you can see, I've got universities building in my expands. I had actually started building gardens in these cities rather than water mills, and the reason why is because since we are going to be delaying building the national epic in the garden in the capital to prevent as many great work makers from coming out before ideology as possible, it's going to make the gardens and the expands more important because we do want as many great scientists as possible so that we can plant as many academies as possible in the earlier game. As you can see though, I don't have enough money to purchase the university in the capital, so what we can do is we need exactly 100 gold, which is kind of nice because you can actually go to people you have a declaration of friendship with and trade gold with them. Take out a loan, so to speak. You get 25 from them for every gold per turn you can offer them. So in this case, we'd give out 4 gold per turn to get 100 gold now. Unfortunately, none of my friends have 100 gold, so we'll have to split it up here. There we go. So we get 50 gold now from him. Also, while I've got him up, I'm going to go ahead and buy an iron off of him just because I just got a notification that a mercantile city-state would like me to connect iron. So that'll be 3 free happiness. Well, not free, a gold per turn, but you know. Anyways, we head over to Askia to get the rest of my loan. 50 gold for 2. And now we have exactly enough money to purchase a university. And our before I buy it and populate it, let's look at this. I'm going to be teching into Renaissance by way of astronomy because all 3 of my expands are mountain cities, and this would be a great way to keep the science rolling. Hopefully they'll be able to finish the universities and gardens in time to be able to start building observatories. But this right now is going to take 20 turns, so let's go ahead and purchase that university, and I'm going to go ahead and populate it. I'm going to fix my citizen tiles off camera because I'm now at 2 growth instead, or growth in 2 turns instead of 1. I'm going to fix it off camera. Basically, I'm going to start switching my cities away from any gold intake because we bought the university, and the next need for gold is going to come around the time of workshops. So we've got plenty of time. We don't need the gold right now. But as you can see, 1, 6, 17. We're going to get to astronomy 3 turns sooner as a result of buying the university right away. So that's a trick you can do to keep your science game tight. And that's also explains why I've been so focused on gold accumulation thus far. The other thing that happened this turn is the first Great Rider was born. I did manage to build the amphitheater in Goshuti, so I do have a slot for it. But before I do that, I'm right about ready to negotiate with William for open borders so that my scout can continue scouting out here. Assuming there's anything to scout, I'd hate to waste money. But I want to negotiate this deal before I create a great work, because sometimes the computer will act differently based on how much tourism you're currently generating. So sometimes it doesn't affect the trade at all. Sometimes it can affect it significantly. So I just wanted to point that out. So a little tip you can use in your own games. Okay, it's turn 109, and my enhancing Great Prophet was born, which Florence recognizes, which is great because that means we're going to have them for a very long time. It's part of the reason why I chose to gift them originally. Also, the Grand Temple is finished now, so we're up to 24 faith per turn, and we are 2 turns away from being able to take Organized Religion, which will give us 32 faith per turn. With any luck, this means I'll be able to buy a missionary for 200 faith before I hit Renaissance, and if not, I'll actually tech off of astronomy to delay entering Renaissance, if I can do so without screwing myself out of the Rationalism opener. So let's go ahead and see what follower beliefs are still available. Okay, mosques are gone, which is unfortunate. If you ever want to double dip on your buildings, pagodas and mosques is what I would consider to be the ideal combination. When you're going for cultural victory, you can take cathedrals. It's really not necessary, even though the approach I'm taking, we're going to have a lot of great people. Some great follow-ups, of course, are Peace Gardens, Religious Center, Religious Community, the one that gives +1 happiness from temples or shrines. I'm going to go with the temples one just because all 4 of my cities have temples already. They'll all have gardens eventually, so this would have been a nice follow-up. Religious Community is really good. I'm doing all right in terms of production empire-wide. If I had a more aggressive neighbor, like Greece is here, so that would be a good reason to take Religious Community, because you might have to throw in some military units here and there. But I think we'll be fine, and probably better going for religious centers. The more happiness you can get, and this is passive, well, passively generated anyways, the more you can grow, the more science you have, the quicker you can get into ideology and internet, so that's my line of thinking. And I'm going to take itinerant preachers. Religious text is also a great way to help make sure that your religion spreads and stays strong within your own empire. The reason why I'm going to go with itinerant preachers is on this particular map, the layout of the cities, there's a lot that are just outside of the 10 tile range that religious pressure normally subscribes to, so increasing that range to 13 with itinerant preachers is going to fit this map very well. Okay, it's turn 112, and I've made an executive decision. Basically, I've crunched the numbers that you can see here, and I've determined that I will be able to get 2 purchases of faith before Renaissance if I delay my acquisition of Renaissance by a couple of turns. And as you can see, we've got Organized Religion, and it's going to be 18 turns before I can open up Rationalism anyways, so I can afford to take as much of a side jog as I want. And by going ahead and switching over to construction, I'll be able to start getting some lumber mills up as well, which is a good idea. What are the downsides to purposefully putting off Renaissance like that? It's very mild. Basically, as soon as anybody hits Renaissance, everybody gets a spy. I don't think since this is an Emperor, I'm pretty much on par. Well, I had a phenomenal opening, so I'm probably a little bit of the tech leader. I bought a university right away here, so that's going to help me pull ahead. I got universities coming up here, then observatories. I'm going to be the tech leader for a while. So my first spy will be going into my capital for counterintelligence. And if I can catch and kill enemy spies and then forgive them, it's going to be a diplomatic buff that's going to be helpful, because then we can sell off our resources for more money, get open borders for better deals. We can get away with having a smaller army for longer, Lots of benefits. And by going this route, by making this little switch, I'm basically putting off the acquisition of spies by a couple turns. So real minor downside. But I wanted to bring that up just so if you're trying to struggle with these decisions in your game, that's another thing you can consider. Okay, it's now turn 122, and big turn, lots to report on. First of all, the Pathfinder I had sent out earlier actually had found a ruin down here, which I got to tech, and it gave me, I think, iron working or bronze, bronze working, the one that reveals iron. And he had picked up a ruin over here, so he's now a composite bowman as well, which is great, especially since that and my other composite bowman were pretty much done exploring the map, it seems. So he'll be coming home soon, and I'll have extra firepower hanging around at home, which will be nice. Also, in keeping with what I was mentioning before, you can see it says I can purchase with faith. This is my second prompt to be able to purchase with faith before Renaissance, and that's what I was aiming for. If I had entered Renaissance this turn, then it would require 300 faith to purchase a missionary or a pagoda, whereas this way it only costs 200. So by taking a little sidestep down the tech tree and not entering in the Renaissance right away, I saved myself 100 faith in the long run. And the important thing is that I'm still, I didn't have to waste another policy. You want to open up rationalism as soon after Renaissance as possible. But this little sidestep in tech got me some extra bonuses, which were nice. I not only unlocked construction for the lumber mills, but I also unlocked engineering for the extra trade route. And I had gotten an extra trade route from Compass. So now the capital is receiving 3 trade routes, and I'm also sending one to Tamoac. I want Tamoac to grow second most because it has a lot of really good workable tiles. We're going to have some jungle trading posts. We're going to have some lumber mills. This is going to be a fantastic city. The higher the population we can get it, the better off we're going to be. So I was able to get those up and running, and since engineering gave me a bridge over this river, it allowed my first missionary to spread my religion just a little bit quicker. So what I'll probably do with this trade prompt is I'll buy a missionary here. I'll spread it to this city here to keep it within my kingdom. It'll up my happiness a little bit. By the way, if you're wondering how my happiness is doing so well, Askia had hooked up Coco, and I had some luck with some city-states. I got multiple barbarian camp prompts. I got open borders from him, came over here, explored. End of the world, but I did find another city-state, and I was actually allied with them for a turn. Yeah, so just cleared a camp over here, so I'm allied with these guys, which I already have silver, and they're not going to keep it forever. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to take the missionary, spread my religion here, and then come up and give it to Antwerp. The reason why is because Denmark doesn't even have a pantheon yet. Greece doesn't have a pantheon yet. Having a little beacon of my religion up here will help spread it to them a little bit faster. And also, Songhai does have a religion, and they're usually pretty vehement about spreading it. So if I can spread my religion here while there are no believers, it'll make it harder for him to spread his religion here once there are believers. So that's my plan of attack there. Now the other thing that happened this turn, oh, and by the way, you can see I timed it to where I'll be able to enter Renaissance the turn after I made my faith purchase, so I'm not going to lose out on any more spy time than what I needed to. As you can see, I did have a great scientist finally born, so I just wanted to talk a little bit about that. Before I go too far into it, I wanted to point out that this first scientist has to be, we're going to go with an academy. It's a good idea for your first few scientists anyways, but you'll see later on it's kind of important that we have as many academies as we can afford without actually wasting too much science. Now the reason why this one is going to have to go in my capital is because the capital has the National College. Once I have observatories up in these cities, then all my cities will have the same 50% multiplier, and it won't matter too much. So I will be spreading out the ones I get later on. And that's mostly because I've kind of had a change of heart about where to plant these guys. Previously, I just walked up to a 2 food tile and planted it down there because, you know, at least the citizen working it's still getting the 2 food, right? Well, if I did that, like say I planted it here, I would lose this food now and then a second food come fertilizer. Now, that's a problem anyways, but it's especially a problem in this city because I got all these water tiles, some desert, a lot of hills. This city, for being a capital, just doesn't have... Oh, and don't forget these tiles here that are gold, so they're pretty low. I can't put farms on them, for example. So this city, for being a capital, actually has a low amount of good workable food tiles. So for this reason, it would be better to use planting a great person to take away hammers in the moment. And for this reason, I've started targeting strategic and bonus resources. Like, say this horses was within a workable tile. By planting it here, I would just lose a hammer now. I'd also lose a food from the pasture later. It's not in range though, but the stone and the cattle are. Now I'm going to favor the stone over the cattle simply because, like I just said with the horses, I'd lose a hammer now, but come fertilizer, I'd also be losing a food. Whereas if I planted on the stone, I'm losing a hammer now from losing the quarry improvement, but I would also lose a hammer later from chemistry, which increases the hammer output of quarries. Now I'd still have the +1 hammer on this tile from Stoneworks because Stoneworks requires that you have an improved stone or marble tile to build it, but not to maintain it. So I would just lose the 1 hammer now and 1 hammer come chemistry. So this is probably where I'm going to plant it. As you can see, there's a couple of food tiles here I'm not working yet, and the only reason I'm working these lower food tiles with gold on them rather than these is because the math works out to where I'm not going to speed up my... oh wait, take that back. Oh, I was looking at the wrong number. Okay, never mind. I'm not going to speed up my growth. I'm not going to change this 5 turns to 4 turns by moving these over to these tiles. Now, it's still usually going to be a good idea for you to work the more food tiles anyways, because even though that extra food won't help you get to the next citizen, it might help you the citizen after that a little bit quicker. But the reason I'm taking this more balanced approach is because, like I said, this capital is not the most productive capital, so we have been looking towards using gold to buy. And since we're going to Cultural Victory, using gold to take cultured city-states is a good way to help lower the culture of our opponents. So if I had been working all my food tiles and I already started working like production tiles, I could instead plant this scientist on like one of these undeveloped hills. Like I could plant it on one of these developed hills, but it would take a hammer away right now and 1 later. Here, yeah, it's still technically taking away a hammer now and 1 later come chemistry, but since I haven't taken the time to improve it, that would be a good place to put it. But my population is a little low right now. I need to grow 2 more citizens here. It won't be long before I have the artist guilds up, so I'll have 2 more citizens here. So I'm just going to go ahead and plant this on the stone tile. And you see we're getting 170 science per turn. Now we're up to 185. That's multipliers for the university and yada yada. Let's see, what else did I want to report on? I did finish a garden here and here, which is nice. I did that after university. One of the nice things of taking my little side jog here is that I time finishing astronomy right after my reduced faith purchase. Go ahead and do that before I forget. And so I was able to build up all my gardens between universities and observatories, which is really nice. And as you can see, Agadika, or however you pronounce it, is starting to pre-build an amphitheater, and that's because after observatories, I'm going to start focusing on Hermitage. Now, you might be a little confused why I'm already building Oxford in the capital. It's a pre-build effort. Because I took my little side jog, I did have the capital build up some caravans, which is a nice use of its time. It'll start building workshops, a workshop next, and then the artist guild after that. But right now I'm kind of in a spot where my capital doesn't actually need to be producing anything. It might be a good time to make a military unit whenever you find yourself in that situation. However, because I'm playing a tight science game, the climb is going to be pretty strict. So getting the capital to pre-build Oxford or Garden or National Epic is a good idea here. And the reason why I'm doing Oxford is because Oxford will usher in our ideology, and it's not until we have our ideology that I'm going to want a garden and a national epic. So that's what some things you can do in the meantime. Okay, it's turn 123. This is pretty much right after the last bit. Normally I'd re-record the last bit when I have this kind of trip up, but the last one was so long I'm just going to make it as another splice and look foolish for not making it as one. Anyways, what changed was after I stopped recording the last bit, it had occurred to me that the city-state I had just allied was giving me silver, and I'm going to have them for 17 turns, which isn't as long as a deal for this, but this is the city-state I'm about to spread my religion to, so I'm going to get more turns out of it. So I decided, since my friend here had enough money to just buy my silver outright, it was a lump sum of 240 gold, which with my gold I made this turn, gives me enough to purchase another city-state. Now, prior to this, my intentions for my money was next turn I'm going to have metal casting. I was just going to buy a workshop in this city because it's challenged and whatnot. But what I'm going to do instead is I was looking at it, and it would be I can buy another city-state, and I know I was saying I wanted to focus on cultured ones, but what I was noticing is that Samarkand, which is over here, the just targeted this camp, so I'm about to get some rep with them anyways. If I were to buy them, my I don't have oysters or porcelain, and they have both. So my happiness would shoot up 11 immediately. I'm going to clear this camp, so I'm going to have rep with them. So all that happiness I gain from them is going to be mine for a while. Meanwhile, oysters are something that two of my cities, including my capital, need, so I'll get bonus growth from that. The porcelain will satisfy this quest over here for Kabul, and as you can see, they're also demanding for culture, which I'm currently in the lead, and by getting friendly with them for connecting porcelain, I'm almost sure to win them. So I'll probably get allied with them in a few turns as well. They give me dies, which I've already got, but the point I'm getting at is by going ahead and gifting these guys, my happiness shoots up so much. See here, I went up to 32, that I can actually afford to sell off most of my luxuries, and that'll up my gold per turn, which will get me back into the range for being able to buy a workshop faster. Now, I'm not just going to go selling
Quite
off my
dynamic, that too.
resources willy-nilly.
I
I'm
knew
going
you'd
to
get some
start
lovely.
with truffles, because that is a resource I
Juliet
have
takeover.
more of, or have duplicates of.
Similar
Same with gold.
Wederom
That's one that I
gegroet.
have duplicates of.
Gaat uw
And by
gang.
that I mean that the fact that I'm selling it off now, I'll have another one
Heel
coming
goed.
back before this deal is over. So if it's too big of a
Mr.
ding on my
Daddy.
happiness, I'll make it back. And same thing with cotton. I've got
Shimmy.
multiples of those. So, and I'm pretty much at the same happiness I was at the start of this video, but now I'm making a lot more money. I'm getting more another city state that others can't have, which will help me get growth in two cities, quest for this city state, so I'll get allied with them and more culture. It's just a snowball. It's kind of like in my tourism made easy video when I pointed out that sometimes if you take a moment to just study what the city states are, you can create like a big snowball. I'm going to be getting a lot of value for that 1,000 gold I just spent. Okay, it's now turn 130. I got my first post-Renaissance prompt to purchase with faith. Now, normally when I'm playing Civ 5, what I'll do is I will continue to buy missionaries until everything that I can reach is following my religion to improve my own gold and to make it harder for other religions to spread in naturally. However, the technique I'm trying to demonstrate here, that's not really as important as, because it's going to be we're going to want as much faith for ourselves as possible. So I'm actually going to start by going ahead and purchasing pagodas. And I always recommend you, just like I've recommended before with Great Works, do this first in a city where you want your borders growing the fastest. I'm going to buy it here in Agaidika, because we share a border with him, and we still have a couple of river tiles I haven't gotten yet. So I want these borders to grow. Of all my 4 cities, I want those borders to grow the fastest. So I purchase it there first, and the next few prompts I get, I'll go here. Um, tech. I wanted to talk about the tech. I went ahead and researched guilds. So after I'm done building a workshop in the capital, go ahead and get the artist guild up, start working that. And then I went for machinery, which means after I purchase a workshop in Tomoak, I will be upgrading my composite bowman to crossbowman. That'll be the next use of my gold. And the reason why we're doing this is we want printing press as soon as possible because we want to start the world, or the World Congress, and we want to uh, propose World's Fair. This will help us be friendlier with everybody, which is a good thing. And we want it to pass, and we want to be able to win it because you get a free social policy for winning it. And by time that World Congress session is done, we'll have Hermitage up. So the silver reward of double culture for 20 turns, it'll technically be like getting 2 social policies. And that's real important because as you'll see, this is a technique that we're kind of going to want a lot of social policies as soon as possible. So that's the tech path I'm taking, and that's the intentions for my gold at this point. So after printing press, I will be going into acoustics so that all my cities can start building the opera houses, and that way my capital can build Hermitage. And that's another reason why I'm buying a workshop in Tomoak rather than in the capital, is simply because this city's almost done with its pre-built amphitheater. This one was my first one to build an amphitheater. I don't even have an amphitheater yet, so this is kind of almost two full buildings behind my other expands. And since the capital being able to build Hermitage is predicated on having amphitheaters and opera houses, I want to expedite that. Okay, it's now turn 139. No major updates. You can see we got a great scientist coming out soon. It's going to be born in this city, however, this city doesn't have any strategic tiles. There's a bonus resource of sheep, but planting there would remove the food, and that's what I'm trying to avoid. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring it over here and plant it on this deer tile. Now that's going to remove the forest, which will remove a hammer. It'll also remove the camp, which will remove a hammer. But because this is grassland, it will actually add a food, so this is actually really good. And since we have an observatory here, it makes no difference if I plant it here or here. Another thing I was going to mention is using these academies on or great percentile improvements in general. If you research like electricity or industrialization and aluminum or coal up here, you can actually use these connect them instantly, even if they're in like swamp or jungle or whatever. The main reason that I went ahead and hit the record is we've just finished printing press, which means next turn I'm going to start the World Congress. I'm going to propose World's Fair. I'm going to try to win it. The problem with trying to win it is as soon as these cities are done with workshops, I'm going to be going for ironworks in the capital. I'm going to try to remember not to let Oxford get finished before it's time. So that's where we're at as far as all that goes. You can see I'm researching acoustics, so as soon as that's done, this city will be able to build it, Opera House, and these cities will after the workshop. And that'll give me just enough time in this city to fit in a watermill, I think, so that's really good, because I do want that city growing as much as possible. But the reason why I started recording is because I got another prompt for purchasing with faith. And there's now 2 city-states, Geneva, which you can see I already got 3 followers, and they're like my pet one anyway, so this is going to be mine anyways. But also this one, and this is going to give me happiness. We were previously allied with them, so getting my religion to them will make us allies once again, and they have wine and they'll have my religion, so the reputation will degrade slower. And since wine is a resource I already have, I'll be able to sell it off. You can see Ethiopia has been asking me, so that'll be an instant chunk of change. That alone would be worth it. And then what I'll do, since I'll have an extra charge and nobody else wants it, is I'll go ahead and like put it on Belgrade or something like that, since it's going to take forever for Belgrade to convert. Okay, it's turn 146, and I'm going to have to deviate from the plan a little bit here in a few different ways. I had just spread Taoism to Zurich, so they are now my ally again, and because they have my religion, the rep's going to decay slower. So they'll be my ally for 20 turns, which means for 20 turns I'm going to have extra wine. I'm going to go ahead and take advantage of this scenario by trading with William, because he's friendly with me, so he'll give me a lump sum of gold. Now this brings me up to 1,000 gold, which normally I'd love to be able to parlay that into buying another city-state and getting more happiness and being able to sell more off. However, since I was not able to buy a workshop in the capital earlier, I'm in a situation now where I've got too much to build. And again, going back to what I said in the beginning, there's no right way to do this. Like, I could take forever and just build everything I want. I'm trying to be as fast as possible to get ideology and, of course, the internet as fast as possible. So what's happening here is I just finished banking, which means I've got another trade route available. It's going to take me 10 turns to build ironworks in the capital, so I'm going to go with economics ahead of architecture. But after that, I'm going to be building Hermitage while I'm researching scientific theory, and hopefully I'll be able to buy a public school in the capital. However, in order to pull this off, I'm actually going to have to use this money to buy an opera house in the capital, because that's just going to be the way everything times out. And the reason why this is because I'm going to build Hermitage, and then hopefully I can buy the public school, like I said. And then while I'm researching electricity, I'll be pre-building like National Epic, Garden, And then as soon as electricity is over with, we'll be finishing Oxford, using the free tech to get into radio, to get into ideology. And once we have an ideology, we're going to want to start spitting out great work makers left and right. So what this means is after I have an ideology, I'm going to have to build, finish building the garden, finish building National Epic, build the Musicians Guild, start working that. And of course around this time, the First World Congress is going to finish up, so I'm not going to be able to use the production in my capital towards the World's Fair, because I'm going to be trying to build all these other things to start spitting out great people as fast as possible once I get Futurism. However, I'm not going to buy the Opera House right this second because, sad as it may seem, I could actually use the 1 gold per turn more than the 1 culture per turn, and I don't have a need for the great work of art slots just yet. I am on my way to a golden age. At that time, I might go ahead and buy the Opera House just to help it get in on the 20% buff. Over here, I found this camp, but I'm actually going to leave it sit for a minute. I'm going to go ahead and shoot this guy down, but I'm going to leave the camp alone for a moment because I see an unguarded Denmark settler here, and I don't know where he's going. I hope he doesn't settle right there. He could if he wanted to, but I'm literally 1 turn away from getting that tile. And if I'm not mistaken, I've traded away my last truffles. So, oh yeah, because the capital actually needs it. So I would really like to be able to move that guy over there and hook that up. So I'm hoping he's coming over here, and the camp will steal it. But maybe he'll come over here. I don't know. The other thing I'm going to deviate from the normal plan is because I just finished banking, I'm actually going to, I have another trade route slot, and rather than going for another internal trade route, which I'd really like to do, like from Agaidika to Moak to grow it even further, I'm actually going to send it over up to Antwerp. And the reason why is because they want a quest for it. They've got my religion. Doing so will put me at ally and will keep me there for a while. And since this is a city-state next to Greece, I'm trying to gobble up as many city-states as I can near them so that they have less leverage against like warring me or other people or just plain getting votes. Because I've been doing pretty well about maintaining relationships, even though I haven't putting too much effort into it. But building the caravan to send to them is one way I will put an effort. And of course, we're going to have a great artist come out soon, so they'll be ours for some time to come. And since they are mercantile, that means we'll get extra happiness. We'll get another copy of silver and jewelry. I have a silver, but I'm currently selling it out, and I do have jewelry, so that's not too big of a deal. But being able to keep it out of Greece's hands too is another consideration. So I don't see a problem with spending 1 trade route cycle to make that happen, and because with the great artist afterwards, it's going to just stay that way for a while. Okay, it's turn 151, and it's time for my second golden age. So we're going to do another pump and dump. And I realize I've already presented this idea at least once in this video, but I want to do it again because it's one of those things that it's the type of synergy in the game where people can tell you about, but unless you actually see it in action, it's really hard to envision what's going on. So anyways, I have been keeping my happiness high, hit the second golden age, which is nice. The production and everything's coming at a pretty good time. As you can see, we've already got secularism. We want to get free thought as soon as possible, keep that science game going. So what I'm going to do now is, now that I've entered this golden age, I don't need all this happiness. I don't need it for the next 10 turns. It's going to literally do nothing for me. And then after that's over, I don't need it to be high because I don't even know if I'll hit a third golden age. But let's go ahead and start selling off some stuff. So cotton's one of the things I'm eager to get rid of because I got so many of them that, you know, there's constantly deals coming up, more coming back. So if I ever need it for happiness, it's always coming back to me from other sources. So let's go ahead and sell this for as much as we can. Good enough. And then of my incense, this is the only guy that can give me full price for it, so let's go ahead and sell it to him. See, this is one of those advantages of having friends. You can take out loans, you can sell these for lump sums, plus notice 240 is much better than 7 per turn for 30 turns. So. And now we've got 1,000 gold. So we can buy another city-state if we want. The thing that we need to look out for, though, is it is going to be 10 turns, maybe 9 if I speed up a little bit from growing and stuff. It's going to be about 10 turns before I unlock scientific theory. The public school costs 920 gold. 10 turns, I'm not going to have 920 gold, but I'm going to be pretty close. Like there's a barb camp over here that actually did end up capturing that Danish settler I had pointed out before. So I might actually return that to him, just because of all the people in the game right now. He's probably the one that's hottest for me. My position's basically got him pretty cramped, and my army's probably significantly smaller than Greece's. So he'd be looking at me. I've already forgiven him for a couple spy steals or something like that. But anyways, let's go over to our city-states here, and Greece is allied with a cultured city-state. That's bad, because that means they're getting more culture than they otherwise would, which is obviously going to make it harder for us to achieve our cultural victory. It's not too critical. They're not the leader by any length. Ethiopia, Netherlands, then Denmark, then Greece. But Greece tends to be aggressive, so they might take over some capitals and gain some wonders or some culture generators. Plus, they kind of abuse the whole city-state system. So if we can take away from them, that would be great. Usually 119 is a pretty steep number to have to overcome in one hit, but they're currently accepting gold gifts for more effect. And it just so happens that we get more than 119. So now our culture per turn goes up, his goes down. He loses an ally, we gain an ally. The unique luxury, or the luxury that they have, is one I already have. I already have one of my own that I've sold off because there's another city-state that I'm getting it from, Antwerp. In fact, my great artist was just born this turn, and because I had sent them a trade route, they're going to be mine for quite some time. So that's where we're at there, and you know, by the time I hit scientific theory, I'll be real close to being able to buy a public school in the capital. And the reason why I'm going to buy it in the capital, even though I've got a 50% multiplier everywhere, is simply because, as I pointed out, the capital's build queue is going to be a little backed up for a while. Okay, it's turn 153, yet again another time where I pretty much hit record right after I just got done recording a bit. But that's because the turn turned over, and basically cotton I had been selling out and silver I had been selling out came back. And this is another one of the advantages of pump and dump, and one of the advantages of keeping so many friends. Whereas before I wasn't sure exactly how I was going to pay for a public school, here I just come in, sell my silver again. I've got two city-state allies, at least one of which isn't going anywhere anytime soon that I'm getting silver from, so I literally don't need this. Might as well sell it for 240 gold. It's a cycle, basically. The other thing I just wanted to point out, even though it's pretty insignificant, is the very turn I took a cultured city-state away from Greece, they bought another one. So luckily they had just called for science, and we've ramped up our science quite well with secularism and getting public schools going here and stuff. So I'll probably get that quest done, and you know, maybe this will be a gold purchase in the future. Okay, it's turn 154, and this is getting out of control. I hit the record button again because here we are just a couple turns later, and a deal where I was selling out cotton, truffles, and gold, all for money, have come back. On top of that, this extra truffles, it's out of workable range, but still within my borders. A couple turns to connecting that up. So I could sell off all those three that just came back for, I mean, obviously I'm not going to get all friends and bulk some right now, but my gold per turn is going to go up significantly, etc., etc. So thought I'd point that out. Also, we'll dip a little bit into grand strategy so I don't have to keep recording every couple turns. I do have a great scientist coming out in 3 turns. It's going to be originating from Goshuti. Going back to what I was saying before about bonus resources and strategic resources, all 3 of these, stone, horses, and buffalo, I would be taking a hammer away from right now. The stone I would be taking a hammer away from right now, and one later in chemistry. The horses I would take a hammer away right now, and one food come fertilizer. The buffalo I'd be taking away a hammer and 2 gold right now because I've already researched economics. So I'll probably set it here first, and then future great percentile improvements in the city will probably go buffalo and then horses. Also turn away from finishing architecture. I got 2 opera houses finishing in 1 turn, ironworks finishing in 1 turn, so this city will build Hermitage and then go on to National Epic Garden, starting them anyways. I'll buy a public school, and then we'll finish out Oxford right when electricity finishes, get our ideology, and then finish up the National Epic Garden, and then the Musicians Guild. And if, as you can see, there's already like 2 city-states that are looking for a great musician, so we'll get rep from that as well. Okay, it's turn 157, and this great scientist was born, so I'm going to go ahead and plant it on the stone next turn, as discussed. I was thinking about this situation over here. I went ahead and killed the pikeman that was holding this guy. Since there's another barbarian here, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to capture it and then move off of it and keep it, capture it and keep it. That way it'll get converted to a worker. Then most likely he'll come down and capture it again. I'll kill him, I'll intercept the then worker, and then return it to Denmark. So I'll get the diplomacy buff of returning his civilian, I think, and still deprive him of getting that other city. So that should be a lot of fun. Take it, move off of it, and might as well. I got the alarm that they were under attack, so I brought my crossbow down here. I radared with the worker, and there's a camp, yeah, there. But since I'm here, I might as well shoot that down. Okay, that's nice, because I didn't have furs, but I did need them for Tomahawk. And so they'll give me faith. Oh, I'll lose them in 2 turns, though, so that's not cool. Anyways, quick update. You can see it's 4 turns until scientific theory, which is awesome. I do have all my lumber mills up here and there, so that'll be fun. Also, in the meantime, between opera houses and research labs, I got watermill up here and here, I think. Just about to be finished here, and I'm getting markets up here and here. I'll get one in there. Who knows, maybe the capital will eventually have a time to put up a market and get the East India Company. You might see that I am focusing a little bit on national wonders. They're pretty important overall, but part of it is because I will be going autocracy as an ideology. And for me, somebody who's not really into war that much, the only other early adopter policy I would take is the one that gives national wonder happiness, which I'm really not going to need at this game. We've been so lucky with happiness most of the game. Also, since this is technically a lull in production, I only need these things to finish up in 4 turns to line up with scientific theory. I have rearranged my tiles a little bit to work some gold, partially because we're in a golden age, and partially because coming up in research, we're going to research electricity, so we're going to be uncovering aluminum, hydro plant. All my cities are river. After that, I'll probably research industrialization just to find where the coal is, maybe get some factories. Now, these things cost 1050 gold each, all of them. And this is one of those things where, since all 4 of my cities are on rivers, I kind of want hydro plants and factories in all my cities, assuming I can get access to the materials. You know what? I just forgot to check my faith. I got one more city to purchase a pagoda in. I was going to say, if we can purchase a great profit right around the time that these materials are appearing, we might be able to plant a great profit to create a holy site to connect it instantaneously. But anyways, the point I'm getting at is when you consider that we're going to be buying 1, 2, 3, 4 of these among our cities, and this is one of those things, you don't have to do this. Excuse me. If you want, you can go straight into archaeology, start pumping out archaeologists. We have such a tech advantage that I'm going to avoid doing this. I'm going to try to buff up my production, and while my cities are building research labs and all these factories and stuff, then I'm going to research into chemistry and fertilizer to buff my existing tile yields, and then I'll probably go into archaeologists. Mainly because see, we got 13 turns. Let's see here, 4. Yeah, I couldn't research this in time if I wanted. Maybe with the buff in scientific theory and the academy buffs, maybe. I should probably talk about World Congress since I'm kind of inching towards there right now. Ideally, your first World Congress is going to be World's Fair, because we want that free social policy. We want to buff the culture intake, which you can see. Hermitage, we're about ready to get that 50% buff. We've got as many great works in the capital as possible. So to team that up with doubling from getting silver in the World's Fair is going to be really nice. Oh yeah, and that's the other thing, World's Fair trying to, yeah, so our production queues all around are going to be pretty tanked, and that's why I'm going to start going this route, since instead of going this route, because our production's going to be pretty strapped anyway, so might as well be able to buy these factories and stuff, and that way we can work towards the World's Fair, work towards all this stuff. But anyways, what I was getting at is the Second World Congress. It all depends. Like, you can go arts funding. Given this current layout of, like, he's like a cultural dude, but like, and maybe he is a little bit, but most of these people, they can be a little militaristic, a little less interested in the culture stuff. Or, as is the case with like Babylon, just so small they can't really focus on it as much as they might like to. So introducing, oh gosh, what's it called? Arts funding? Yeah. Introducing arts funding is going to upset a lot of people on this particular map. However, it's sort of a necessary evil. Again, like I said in the beginning, there's no right way. You don't have to have arts funding. I mean, as you can see, we haven't even opened aesthetics yet, okay? So none of these things are a requisite. This is just a recommendation, or a road plan that I've got going on, basically. So the second one, we'll go ahead and recommend arts funding. The third one, we're going to want to shoot for historical landmarks. Now, this is another one that's probably going to piss a lot of people off, mostly because even, you know, what are we talking about, 45 turns down the road, 40 turns down the road, whatever. Most of the others aren't going to be up to archaeology yet, so it's going to upset them that this is even recommended. But I wouldn't say it's vital to the strategy I'm aiming for, but it is very helpful, and that's because if you get historical landmarks passed, then all your antiquity sites within workable tile range, you turn them into a historical landmark, and that proposal will add 4 culture per turn to them. And it'll also add 2 culture per turn to all great person tile improvements. And that's why we're going to be planting prophets, why we've been planting scientists. I mean, planting scientists, that's a good idea anyways, but each of these things are going to be producing 2 culture per turn as well. When we finish off the piety tree, the holy sites are going to produce another 3 culture per turn per tile. And the reason why this is important is because hotels, airports, National Visitor Center all turn culture per turn on tiles into a little bit of tourism. And then, of course, you get the internet, which doubles all of that. And that's kind of the grand strategy we're aiming for. And that's why the Third World Congress, we're going to hope to be able to pass historical landmarks. That one is so important to this strategy that I will actually, by then we'll have a couple more spies, and, you know, I'll have diplomats going to expand my tourism to the cultural leaders. But as we start approaching historical landmarks, I'll actually move the spy from my capital into another person. Buy as many votes as possible, because the sooner you can get that pass through, the more tourism you'll generate. And then if you manage to actually get to the Fourth World Congress and have the proposals voted on, we'll of course be going for international gains, because getting first in there will, I think, double your tourism for like 20 turns. So it'll take it home even if you haven't already, but I think we'll probably be able to finish it up before then. But that's the roadmap as far as World Congress proposals go, and what our production queue and money situation is going to be looking like. So I'm probably done buying city-states for now. It's really nice that we were able to rack up that many allies, because once the World Congress and United Nations rolls around, it's going to be very helpful. Okay, it's turn 160, and as you can see, my plan didn't work. I stole that Denmark settler, became my warrior, so when the other guy captured it, the game still thinks it's my warrior. If I could go back, I would, and just give Denmark back the settler to get the buff. So I'm just going to delete this guy. The good news is that that missionary I had sent down here, rather than bring him back over to Belgrade, who will convert eventually, what I did is I decided this was going to be a more contested area, so I went ahead and converted Copenhagen, and it says there in bright green, they have happily adopted your religion in the majority of their cities. So even though I couldn't give him back his worker, well, it looks like we'll probably be good for now. But the reason why I hit record is this is absolutely incredible that this happened twice in the same game. See how Pagoda says it'll be 300? I'll be at 300 next turn. However, next turn I'm going to hit the industrial area, and the price is going to go up to 400. So once again, I'm going to tell it to research something different for one turn, and then next turn I'll have it research so we can get into the industrial area, because this is going to basically save another 100 faith. And since I did end up buying another missionary more than I wanted to, that 200 faith I've saved by doing this little juggle is actually going to be a little helpful, because I think I paid 300 for that missionary that did this. So yeah, just another thing you can do. Also, looking at the timings of things, great writer, great artist, 16 turns. My original intention was to pre-build the garden and then pre-build the national epic and not finish them until we have ideology. However, assuming we spend one turn here and then one turn here, that's 2 turns, and then it's going to take, we'll call it 7, because I am going to buy a public school right away, so that should increase our science. We'll call it 7. So 9 turns. We'll finish Oxford on the very turn we finish electricity, getting us the ideology the turn after Oxford's finished, or electricity's finished. And then the turn after that will be the earliest we want a great workmaker being born. So we're looking at 1, 2, we'll call this 7. So that's 9 turns, finish Oxford. On turn 10, we'll get ideology. So on turn 11, we could stand for our writer and artist to be born. So far, I've had 2 writers born and 1 artist born, as you can see here. I'll go ahead and put that in there to act as a reminder for later. So instead of pre-building the garden and then pre-building the national epic, I think I can get away with just finishing the garden here, and that plus 25% will bring me closer to my stated goal. Last thing we need to address is, look at this guy, Babylonian Great Prophet. He's embarked, so if Babylon was just trying to bring him over to convert his own city, this would be a much more direct route. So I have every reason to believe he's coming off in this direction. Now, if he wants to pass my city to go play with Denmark, I don't mind that, but he needs to leave my cities alone. The problem is he's already converted this city, so I have reason to believe that this Great Prophet does not have 4 charges, which means if I was to seize it as my own, I would not be able to plant a holy site. So for right now, I'm going to say it's not worth going to war with Babylon for, but I am going to start moving some military units nearby to do a blockade. Speaking of which, if you do find yourself with extra workers, and as you can see, just about every single tile that I could work is improved. I try to get all the mines up before aluminum and coal, just to connect those up a little quicker. Another thing you can do is, you can see we got a great scientist coming up here. I normally would have faith to be able to purchase great profit right about now, or at least it feels that way. But if you have these great people, and we're sticking to the plan of planting them on bonus and strategic resources, say aluminum or something popped up here, we could go ahead and plant a great person there to connect it immediately. So that's another nice advantage of going the great person route. As far as blockading this guy, my other Pathfinder that got turned into a crossbow, I've been dealing with city-states and camps, but he's finally heading back east. So he can help me protect Tomoak, or maybe come over and act as a blockade over here if I need him to. Hermitage is done, so culture's way up. We'll get humanism next turn. That'll increase our great scientists from this point out, just before we try and pass arts funding to squelch it all. But okay, it's turn 162. We've researched scientific theory. We are now in the industrial age. I did want to bring attention to the fact that I did make a little mistake earlier. When I hooked these truffles up, I didn't sell them off right away, even though I was doing the whole in the middle of golden age booming happiness thing. And that's partially because if you look over here on my city-states, I mean, I am existing among a lot of borrowed happiness. For example, these guys are going to be done with me in 4 turns, at which point I'm going to lose wine. My own wine's been traded out, so that's going to be -4 for a while. Jewelry I still have, though, but after that it's perfectly safe. We have so much money. I mean, that's going to be going to like a public school here right now, and factories and hydro plants, stuff like that. So money's going to be a little strapped, but I should be able to make it going. And the thing I should mention yet is I haven't built a circus in this city yet, and I haven't built a coliseum anywhere. Because I had to do my little tech sidestep to preserve faith costs one turn, I did finish markets in these 2 cities ahead of schedule, and I started pre-building coliseums, but that's the most effort I've put into happiness buildings. Well, I do have pagodas bought in every city now, so that's something. Um, and I just wanted to point out, for those who don't know, I keep using the word pre-build, and all that means is to start building something without the intention of finishing it. Like, I pre-built a coliseum in both of these cities for one turn, so whatever hammers I put towards that building will stay put towards that building. I've read in places that it decays in time, but I think that was referring to either older versions of Civ 5 or older versions of the Civilization series. I don't think that's applied here, but I don't know. I can't say for sure. Okay, so anyways, just to recap, let me go ahead and purchase the public school here before I forget. And while I'm working with the specialist slots here, I just want to point out, you see I am working the workshop, and that's because we do have secularism. Each specialist provides 2 science. And in this city, since this city is kind of relegated to working all these 3 hammer tiles, I'm happy to give up 1 hammer for 2 science. If I'm building something important, I'll actually swap it out just to see if that 1 hammer will make a difference, but anyways, we got 7 turns until electricity is finished. I will be building the Oxford University on that last turn. That way, as we finish electricity, we can finish Oxford, get the free tech, take radio, which gets us into the modern era, gets us another spy, but more importantly, gets us the ideology. Now, that's going to come the turn after we buy this because it doesn't come naturally. So it's going to be 7 turns to finish electricity / build Oxford. On turn 8, we're going to get the ideology, which means on turn 9 is the earliest we want a great person being generated. For this reason, I am going to go ahead and finish building the garden, as I mentioned, but what I forgot to mention is, let's say my calculations are off, I finish the garden, and these guys are off by a turn or 2. You can always pluck your specialists to slow them down. I did want to point out, though, that the buildings themselves do generate great people points. The Writers Guild creates 1, the Artist Guild creates 2 per turn, and the Musicians Guild actually does 3 per turn. I wanted to point this out because if you want to do a Futurism approach in your own game, if you build your Musicians Guild too soon, you might find that you actually produce a great musician before you get Futurism. So that's something to keep in mind. Not only will you get the science for work in the workshop, but you also get great engineer points, which is pretty cool. We're not going to need that here because we're going for a Wonderless approach. If I end up working enough slots that we accidentally get a great engineer, then we can either plant it as a manufactory, which will work with us historical landmarks later, or we could save it to rush the National Visitor Center to get that 100% multiplier out a little bit sooner. But we really want to try to avoid this because when you create a great engineer, you push back your great scientists. And we have a lot more use for great scientists than we do great engineers, and by no small margin. Alright, and a little update on this prophet guy here. He is starting to come towards us, so I am going to blockade him. I brought the crossbow from over here because these crossbows start off as scouts, so they'll be able to do all this hill hopping and crossing rivers a little more effectively. I'll pull him back once this guy's into position. We'll blockade him for now. As you can see, my warrior is still a warrior, which is pretty inappropriate given my tech level. I don't have any iron. I don't have any access to iron. None of my city-states have iron, so I bought one earlier to satisfy a city-state quest. I'll probably have to buy another one and start upgrading them. And that's something I'm going to have to start using my money for, because like I said, we are going to tech into like chemistry and fertilizer and stuff. We'll be getting some military upgrades here and there. So that's something I got to look forward to. Last but not least, we are in the industrial age, so we've got another spy now. If you've seen my Tourism Made Easy video, then you'll already know what I'm about to cover here, but basically let's come over here, and it looks like Ethiopia and Denmark are neck and neck. Denmark's slightly ahead, so for the moment we will go ahead and take this spy and actually move him into Denmark's capital as a diplomat, because diplomats will automatically conduct propaganda that provides a boost to tourism output to the target civilization. Now he's traveling there this turn, so we won't be able to see it in this segment of the video, but basically my effective, see how this one against Denmark says 9? I'm assuming that's because we have open borders or trade route. Well, no, we don't have open borders with them. We do have a trade route though. I'm assuming it says Netherlands 7, even though we've got 6 because we've got open borders. Now that I've got a diplomat there, this will go up to like 8 or 9. It's a 25% increase, but I don't know if it's going to combine with the other boost here or how that works exactly. And for that reason, I should mention that once we do get the ideology, I'm going to do everything I can to get open borders with everybody, because I think the buffs you get for open borders and diplomats also apply to the Futurism boost of 250. I'm not entirely sure about that, but we are going to find out as this progresses. Okay, it's turn 168. We've finished electricity and Oxford University, so we have a lot of ground to cover in this segment. Before I do forget, let us go ahead and negotiate for open borders with everybody.
Let's go.
I want to do this now before I do all the other things I need to do right now, just because I don't know if jumping eras or adopting an ideology will make this process more challenging. So I want to get that out of the way now. Kind of way earlier I negotiated with William for open borders before I made a great work. While we're talking about Denmark and Greece, Greece did declare war on Denmark, and that's a bit of a problem because Denmark was kind of what stands between Greece and me. And so if he's really aggressive, it wouldn't surprise me if he's successful. Plus, he just bought into this, so now these units might be attacking Cowpie here, and they might start getting much stronger. I'm real tempted to buy this back because it wouldn't take much. Normally, I only gift when it's worth when I can give 1,000, because, well, normally it's the most efficient. Here it looks like it's evenly distributed. But right now, my gold is better used elsewhere. The reason being is because by finishing electricity, we uncovered that we do have some aluminum developed here, and we have another one here. This one's really bizarre because this started off as a jungle river tile. I chopped down the jungle in the beginning to get as much river farms as possible. In fact, I was in the process of chopping this one down whenever my borders grew to it, and then I switched to putting a trading post there, simply because the river farms are only really effective in the early game. We've got multiple inland farms here, and we'll be teching towards fertilizer next, so we don't need the high growth tiles anymore like we did in the early game. I really regretted chopping this one down just because it would have been city defense, but that's another story. If it weren't for the fact that we already have some aluminum hooked up by having a mine here, which, by the way, this is why I put mines on all the hills within my borders, even if I can't work the tiles, just because auto connection of aluminum in this case. Maybe coal will go the same way. But if I didn't already have aluminum connected, I'd be in a bit of a conundrum here because, like I said, we can use great people tile improvements to connect strategic resources instantly. And I'm 2 turns away from being able to buy my first profit. I'm 4 turns away from getting a great scientist. And this great scientist just happens to be coming from this city, so it would take me 4, 5, 6 turns to hook this up this way. Mine would take 7 turns, so it would take him 1 turn to cross the river, 7 to hook it up. So I'd be in a bit of a conundrum as far as how to hook it up. However, since we already have some hooked up, and it's not really as big of a conundrum, I'm going to go ahead and purchase a hydro plant here, because it is the capital and we're falling behind. Although we're doing pretty well. The National Epic, the Garden just finished. National Epic will be done in 1 turn. Excuse me, Oxford just finished, but you know. And the Garden did not speed these guys up too much, which is great. But I do want to be able to build the Writers Guild in the city. It would be nice to be able to fit in a windmill at some point. It's not really a high priority, simply because next I will be teching for industrialization, which means I would want to be able to put a factory up here as well. So let's go ahead and actually, since okay, we covered aluminum. Before I forget, and I want to cover this now because I usually do forget, is Oxford gives us our first theming bonus we can actually make good on, because we already do have 2 great works. I'm just putting these in the slot so that when I swap great works they'll already be there. You can see we didn't satisfy the theming bonus by putting them in, because one of the requisites is that it has to come from other civilizations, and they need to be from different eras. So let's go to swap great works and see what's available. Okay, we got classical and medieval, so we will be able to take it. Go ahead and swap for the only classical available. And now, which medieval? It really doesn't matter. These are both my 2 cultural rivals. Like, if one of these was a cultural rival and one of them was a cultural gimp, I'd trade with him, because giving him a theming bonus wouldn't be as dangerous or as counterproductive to our goal of Cultural Victory. But these guys are neck and neck. I do have a diplomat here, so I would be more likely to potentially give him a theming bonus since we're equipped to better offset that. However, we're about to hit industrial, get another spy, so I'll have diplomats in both of them. So it really doesn't matter which one I go with is the point I'm trying to get at. My apologies for belaboring that point. Okay, so now we do have the theming bonus. Our tourism goes up by 2, not because we created another work, but that's how theming bonuses work. Just in case you missed my tourism made easy video. Okay, for the free tech we get from Oxford, pretty common strategy. You can tech straight into radio because the only requisite is electricity, and this gets you into the modern era really, really quick. I mean, look at this. We're 1, 2, 3 techs out of 2 eras ago. And by entering the modern era, we'll be able to do an ideology. But since we got there artificially, we won't be able to choose the ideology this turn, and that's why I was counting out finish Oxford, choose ideology, then Great People Born. So something to keep in mind. Before I forget, let's go ahead and put this guy in Ethiopia's capital as a diplomat once again. Get those modifiers going on. We're going to tech into industrialization. It's really nice that it's only going to take me 4 turns because we're going to have a great scientist coming out in 4 turns. So if it turns out I've got coal somewhere, I can hook it up immediately with the scientist that comes out immediately minus travel time, of course. One thing I forgot to mention earlier is workers. As you can see, most of my tiles are improved, and the ones that aren't are about to be. I will have to send somebody over here. It'll be him, but he's only got 1 turn on this trading post, so I can have him cross the river and do that. I had actually brought some workers up here to help block that profit, but he seems to have taken off, which is a good thing. So I might have the worker, I'll have this worker connect up this aluminum. The great scientist, if I don't need him to hook up, you know, I still could have my great prophet come up and hook that up. It would be instantaneous. Let's see, 2 turns, I'd buy him, I'd be able to use him in 3, 4, 5. So, because my workers don't have anything else to do right now, but they might come time for coal. So I don't know how I want to do that. But I do know, since this is coming one way or the other, I bought 1 hydro plant here. I'm working all the river tiles already, so I don't need to rearrange anything in regards to that. I've got 2 aluminum here. I'm not going to have enough money to buy 2 more or build 2 more hydro plants before I can get this connected. So I'm actually free to sell off at least 1 of these. Probably both. And the only reason I say probably both is because industrialization's coming. So we might be able to get coal and factories, and that would be a slightly better use of my gold than hydro plants because of the multiplier. However, it's a gamble. We don't know that if we're going to have coal, and if we don't have coal in our borders, it's going to take a long time because we're the technological leaders for city-states to catch up and give me their coal. So I'm just going to sell 1 aluminum, keep 1 handy just in case we end up not having any coal around. We can still put our money to ramping up our productivity, basically. And I think that's everything that I wanted to cover. So I'm going to hit next turn. One thing I did want to point out is we're about to choose an ideology, and like I said, the Futurism is the point in time where we want to ramp up all of our great work makers, which is why I built the garden and the national epic. It's also going to be the time that we want to finally take the aesthetics opener to increase the rate of those. However, as you can see, I'm 1 policy away from having free thought, and that would be a big science boost and get us towards internet faster. So I'm really tempted to take this. In fact, I probably will, just because of the science game dedication. I sometimes answer threads on Reddit where I can point to some of the games I've posted, because most of the time when I'm playing peaceful like this, I have a really tight science game. I don't know what that choppiness is. It just started happening a little bit ago, and it doesn't normally happen, so I don't know. Anyways, let's talk ideologies. Right off the bat, I would say that order is the worst / potentially best one to take for the purpose of a cultural victory. They have 2 tenets that refer to tourism instead of only 1 in the other 2 ideologies. The problem is they're 2nd and 3rd tier, and they're kind of uncontrollable. Plus 34% tourism to other order civilizations. Nobody has an ideology yet, and when they do, I can't guarantee it's going to be order. You know what I mean? So, and what if it's like the person who's got the lowest amount of culture anyway? So, like, I wouldn't need the boost against them. It's something you can't control. This one too, plus 34% tourism to civilizations that have less happiness. We've had a pretty happy game thus far, but realistically speaking, you can't control the happiness of other civilizations. And then again, too, it's the second and third tier, so a lot of policies to get these. So I'm going to call this right out, at least for the purpose of this video. Now, freedom is actually my favorite ideology, generally speaking. In terms of a cultural victory, it's not the greatest. I mean, the food and less unhappiness for specialists is awesome for working all those guilds. The problem is their only tourism boost is third tier. So you're going to need 6 tenants just to get this unlocked. 4 if you're the early adopter and you get those 2 free ones. But plus 34% tourism generated by cities with a broadcast tower. First of all, we're not going to be building broadcast towers. We will on the capital because the capital has Hermitage and the culture boost is going to be phenomenal. Since that's mostly we're going to be housing most of our great works, at least in the beginning. But the main problem here is that it's third tier, whereas Autocracy, their tourism booster. They got a third tier fighting against a common enemy. I'm not a fighter, or at least I won't be in this game any more than Greece makes me anyways. We'll find out how that goes. But they have Futurism, plus 250 tourism with all known civs when a great writer, artist, or musician is born. I believe multipliers such as open borders and trade routes apply to this as well. I'm not certain about that. Diplomats too, I meant to mention that. Not sure about that, but we will find out during the course of this video. Because we have been taking the time to delay working the great work makers, I'm going to be taking Autocracy. Part of that decision has to do with the layout of my capital, which I've already touched base on. Poor water tiles, desert, lots of hills, lots of these gold tiles, just really poor tiles in general. So we wanted to work as much of them as early as possible, and working every guild as soon as you can would detract from that. So I'm going to go ahead and take Autocracy. And the other reason earlier why not selling off my truffles right away was a bit of a mistake is because since I'm not a fighter, after we take Futurism, there's really no tenant in this ideology that's worthwhile to me. So just go ahead and take local happiness from every national wonder. Currently at 7, and now we're at 14. So that's pretty good. The guilds count, like right now I'm going to be building the Writers or Musicians Guild next, so that's going to be another national wonder, another happiness. Let's see here, choose host. Okay, next we're going to be, in just a couple turns in fact, we're going to be voting on World's Fair. I have the utmost confidence it's going to pass, so once I'm done building public schools, I'll have my expands work towards the World's Fair. The capital won't be ready to do that yet because I've got to build the Writers Guild at the very least. Probably be able to pitch in after that. I don't think anything else is coming up. It depends on if we find some coal. I might hard build a factory here, ramping up the production as much as possible. So that's pretty much where we're at right now. I got to remember next turn to purchase a great profit and plant that. Probably on the buffalo would be a good idea. Well, it's too soon to tell. Well, see, that's another thing I could do. I could hold off buying because the great scientist could settle coal, but what if the coal's way down here and the scientist is coming from up here? Whereas a great profit I can purchase in whatever city I want as long as it's following. A religion, my religion, I'm not sure. But so next turn I could purchase a great profit wherever I want. Since I do have a scientist coming out, I'm not gonna waste time waiting for coal. I'll just plant it on the buffalo here, just because that way I'll get the +6 faith per turn going as early as possible. Okay, it's turn 172, and what a big turn it is, so I'm just going to get right into it. I don't like so much seeing this. It occurred to me that when I saw the declaration of war, I should have started sending my units up to act as blockers, because I really don't want Greece getting closer to me if I can prevent it. Let me point out too that you see my science per turn is 481. I just want to point that out because I've got public schools finishing up here, and I'm going to take free thought rather than the aesthetics opener. This would be the time to take the aesthetics opener, but this is the last of the power science policies, so I want to take that, keep our science game going. I did discover coal here. Unfortunately, it's right where I had a lumber mill, so a worker would actually take 4 turns to chop the forest down and then 7 turns to put up the mine. Luckily, a great scientist was just born this turn, so I will actually be able to reach that tile in 2 turns and then put them online in 3. For this reason, if the World's Fair passes, I will actually sell off my last aluminum. I only need 3 more, and I got 3 more coming online soon here anyways, and all my production is going to be going to the World's Fair if it passes, so I'll have to try and remember to do that. Let's go ahead and set up this tile. We're going to lose a production and a gold from the camp to give it 6 faith per turn. It's a little unfortunate because this is a low production city, but that's a good tile for it. Oh, you know what? I forgot to check the meters to see if spies modify Futurism. I got our Great Writer coming up, so we'll do that then. Tomahawk. In fact, let me go ahead and make this great work. And we'll check out the meters now. Let's see, Babylon 621. It says 12, so let's see here. It'd be 633. Wait a second. Okay, yeah. Alright, so 621 plus 12 is 633, and then 250 is 883. That'll be easy enough to remember. We'll check after the Great Writer to see if any modifiers work for it. Embargo City-States passes. Just a quick note, if let's say Kabul had a quest here for receiving a trade route, we would not be able to send one to them. The quest would still appear. Like, I don't think they could generate the quest now, but if they had before, the quest will still appear here. But you won't be able to satisfy it. I actually made that mistake once. Okay, World's Fair does pass, so I'm going to go ahead and sell off my last aluminum because I'm not going to need it just yet. By the time I would need it, the next batch of aluminum is going to be online. Alright, this is the point in time where I'm going to want to propose arts funding. We're friendly with Venice and Shanghai, so I'm not worried about that. I am a little worried about Denmark, but we can probably pay them to keep themselves occupied with Greece for the rest of the game, since Greece is basically taking them over. Going to continue to tech towards fertilizer. I'm not too worried about archaeology, as long as we have this online by the next World Congress, so that I can propose the very important historical landmarks. So in this meantime, while we're working the World's Fair, working on hydro plants and factories, I'm going to go ahead and tech these up to buff my tile yields before we go into here. Speaking of which, I got to try to remember that by the time this says 7, that I move my spy from my capital to another civ so I can buy as many votes as possible. The reason why I say 7 is it takes 1 turn to move into the city, 5 turns to make introductions, and then you can't actually do trading pertaining to the World Congress while it's in session, so you gotta give yourself that time there. Ooh, that's not good. I don't know how much I'm going to be able to do here, but I'm not going to send too many units. You go inside there. You... Okay, 6 turns we're going to grow over there, so you can go over there. Production. Okay, the Musicians Guild is up, so we can start working that for even more culture. Keep those policies flowing. And get some great people going. Great writer. We got to remember 883 towards Babylon. Because I did buy the hydro plant and because I was able to get the National Epic Garden and now Musicians Guild built in time, I will go ahead and devote capital production towards the World's Fair. I could go for a windmill, but it's getting pretty late anyways, and the factory and hydro plants are going to dwarf what that could provide, especially since the modifier only works towards buildings. So that's something I will try to do. Okay, let's move you towards that hill. You get tucked away. Hey, thanks for not taking this tile, even though we have open borders. I feel bad about taking that last settler, since Greece is warring them. Like, the only reason I took it is because I thought I was going to be able to... Oh, look at that, there was a missionary there. So, where is this guy going? That's scary stuff. And it looks like he's holding them off well enough. Alright, well, I can probably still... There's this here. I don't know, we'll see. It's not looking too good, though. Alright, let's, since the writer was born, let's check our meters here. It's actually 883. So, modifiers do not work against the Futurism buff, which is probably for the better. That would be pretty sick if it did. Alright, so there's that. And for those who didn't see my Tourism Made Easy video, anytime you produce a great work, it's usually a good idea to check to make sure it went in the right slot. For the moment, we want to pile them up in capital as much as possible because they don't just produce tourism, they also produce culture. And we do have Hermitage up, so that's a 50% multiplier on our culture. As far as where to place them outside of your capital or wherever you place your Hermitage, kind of like I said earlier, the rate of tile growth is based on your culture in that city. So if I really wanted the tiles in Aigadika to grow, I would place them here, which I do because we have a shared border and I still have a couple of river tiles I could pick up. This is the city I'd like to have growing borders the most, so that's the one I'll do. Alright, public school is finished, so let's go ahead and work that slot. Also, let's see, we want to work the World's Fair for the moment. And you can check this every single turn. A little trick, I think I hinted at this at Tourism Made Easy, but maybe not. You'll notice it says what bronze and silver was worth, but they don't tell you how many hammers goes into the entire project. The way you can figure out is you can take the value for silver, in this case 350, and multiply it by the number of civs at the start of the game, which in this case is 8. So that's 700 times 4, 2800. And this works too for like international games, International Space Station, all the ones that are collective projects. You just take the silver and multiply it towards the times the amount of civs in the beginning of the game. Let's go ahead and put this academy up. That connects the coal right away. We only are going to need 4 ever, so I'm actually going to go ahead and sell 3 of them off. And I usually sell to whoever's in the lead. If you have a civ you've never traded with before, you should trade with them just to get that minor trade buff. And in retrospect, maybe I should have traded with Alexander just to take his gold away from him, since he's most likely to buy the city-states. Let's see, we took care of all that. Okay, here, this is done. Let's go ahead and work that tile. World's Fair is up. Oh, you know what? I should have been working this tile anyways. It doesn't make my citizen come up any slower, so that was a little mistake on my part. Head over here, and I think that's it for this part. I got the World's Fair going, equalized my coal and aluminum, and we'll get the factories and stuff. But look at that. Look, it was at 481 at the beginning of the segment. We're already up to 646. That's from free thought and the working in public schools, and we got another one coming down here. So our science is just amazing at this point in the game. Okay, it's turn 177, and there's been a few developments. Most notably, Greece and Denmark have made peace, so I'm pulling my peacekeepers around, or back, because I need to encircle my city a little bit, because as you can see there's 2 Babylonian prophets here. Now, I haven't seen them do anything with religion here, so I'm going to assume that one of them is not at full charge because used here. So only one of these are going to be worthwhile to me for a holy site. The reason why I haven't declared war on him yet is twofold. For one, his economy is not that developed. Ideally, we want to wait until he's got more money so that in a peace deal we can get more money. Then the other reason is because I haven't upgraded my army yet. My crossbows are eligible for Gatling gun and I just don't have the money. The reason why is because wine just came back from William and I resold it to him for a lump sum and then bought a hydro plant in this city. And the reason why is because Zurich is actually wanting gold. You can see we have 52 rep with them. And I'm getting gold back in 2 turns, so I'm going to be getting allied with Zurich and getting wine back anyways. So I had no problem selling it off to get a hydro plant. So now I got hydro plants in these 2 cities. I want hydro plants in these 2 cities and factories in all 4. To that end, we just finished chemistry. I'm going to go ahead and tech fertilizer, but you can see it's going to take 3, 6, 9 turns to get to archaeology. Whereas in the capital, it's going to take 10 turns to build a factory. So I'm actually going to go ahead and abandon the World's Fair to build a factory in this city. The reason being is because we still haven't gotten the aesthetics opener, and I want to get that as soon as possible. Now, normally my mindset would be, let's go ahead and continue to work the World's Fair and get that free social policy as soon as possible. However, I don't think it's going to happen in the time frame before I get my next social policy anyways. So I want to go ahead and build a factory, because once I do hit archaeology in the capital, I'm going to want to build a museum and then a broadcast tower, simply because we have Hermitage. We're going to be getting the win for the World's Fair, presumably, so, you know, boost up that culture as much as possible, because we still have a number of policies to go. Okay, it's turn 183. I had a couple of more luxuries come back, and we're at that point 30 days from before where a lot of luxuries are going to be coming back, so money's not going to be a problem to a small degree. Next turn I'll have enough time, money to buy another hydro plant or factory. We got our next social policy, so I can finally take the aesthetics opener. Luckily, when my great musician was born, I had a quest for it from Belgrade, and they just gave me a cannon, which is really nice because that's an increase to my military, which means when I do declare war on Babylon, I'll be better prepared for it a little bit. I mean, they're not much stronger than crossbows, and they're not as mobile either, so we're not in the clear yet, but it does mean that if things happen, like they just keep jumping around. I keep having this guy going back and forth between here and here, and they keep closing in on the gap and then kind of trying to go around as I block and unblock. So we've got them in a holding pattern, which is nice. So I should be ready for that one way or the other. Also, next turn I'm going to be getting, in fact, let's go ahead and figure out what I want to do with my cannon. There's no need to bring them. Yeah, that's good. So we'll go ahead and hit next turn. Then I can purchase a great profit. The pasture, because we got fertilizer, now has food, so I'm less inclined to put it there if I can avoid it. I'd like to save my capital tiles for academies where possible. We might have already planted our last one, I'm not sure yet. Have yet to see, but so I want to hold off on planting more great people in the capital just yet. So I'm actually going to purchase the great profit here and plant it on this aluminum. It'll take away, I believe, 2 hammers, one for the mine, one for, I don't know, well, whatever it is, it's going to be better that we do that than take away food. So we'll set up a holy site there next turn. Okay, it's turn 185. I shouldn't have stopped recording. I didn't realize we were 1 turn away from revealing antiquity sites. I'm so bummed. We've only got 1 within workable tile range. Only got 1 within workable tile range. That's unfortunate, because the strategy I'm using, the more historical landmarks we can work, the better off we'll be as far as total tourism, but that's okay. It's a risky take. Also, I had gold, truffles, and cotton come back, so I'll be able to sell all those off and maybe buy another factory right now, in fact. Let's see here. Okay, it's turn 188, and the World's Fair is done for all intents and purposes. 8 players in this game means that we're playing to 2800, which means I only need 1401 to lock first place. And it just so happens I almost hit it on the head, so anyways, we'll go ahead and build a factory in this city, a factory in this city. This factory is already done, and I'm underway building the museum. This city will build a hydro plant. The reason being is because factory is going to be more valuable in this city. I've only got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 tiles, and I'm 2 turns away from buying, so I want to buy the factory and build the hydro plant. Now, I know it might seem odd that I'm not building archaeologists right away. That's a choice that you're going to have to make in your own game. The reason why I'm ramping up all my production as much as possible is because our science is so phenomenal that we're literally going to start flying through techs, and we want to be able to build a research lab as soon as possible, you know, hotels, you know, all that good stuff. So this is why I'm choosing to do, not only because I've got so much science I'm going to be flying through the techs and I'm going to need to be able to build stuff, but because we have such a technological advantage that we're probably going to be able to seize as many antiquity sites as we want. And realistically, you don't have to mine up a whole bunch of antiquity sites to get a culture victory. The approach I'm taking, the most important thing is landmarks within your own workable tiles, but we only got one, so I will be stressing external. The thing is we're going to be passing arts funding soon. We've got the aesthetic opener now. We've got Garden and National Epic in the capital. So we're going to be producing a lot of great workers pretty fast. And we only did one artist before all that stuff went into effect. So we're going to be pumping out a few artists anyways. I'm going to have a museum up in the capital right away, so we'll have 4 slots we can work immediately. Eventually I will build museums to house slots, but figuring out how many archaeologists and museums to build, within a certain time frames, always a juggling act. So I'm not sure how that's going to go. But I just wanted to bring that to your guys' attention. Switched all the production around. Gonna buy my last building in a couple turns here. I'm just gonna be a few gold off from being able to buy it next turn. I'm kind of bummed about that too, but shortly thereafter I should be ready for war with Babylon. Oh, and I forgot to mention these workers finally have something to do because Geneva requested a road. So I'm hoping I get allied with them. I did have one civ offering me first, and I didn't trade for it because I've been trading out for gold for the purposes of buying all these buildings. So okay, it's turn 190, and the World's Fair is finished, which means not only will we get free social policy, but we'll get double culture for 20 turns. Unfortunately, I won't have my broadcast tower built the entire time, so that's unfortunate. At this point, we could just go straight into finishing up the piety tree. I do kind of want to put one more policy into rationalism just so we can later on take the free tech somewhat at will. So at this point, between theocracy and sovereignty, we can boost our gold per turn quite significantly by taking both of those. So I think that's what I'm going to do. As far as which one's going to be worth more right away, it's not going to make too much of a difference because there's only going to be a 2-turn gap here. But I think theocracy is going to be slightly higher here, only because I have so much gold on my tiles that I could actually rework my tiles to make this quite significant. But yeah, this is going to be my policy today, and 2 turns from now we'll take sovereignty, and then we'll start heading towards the Reformation belief. And I do have enough money now to buy factories, so there we go. Speed up the hydro plant, very good. Okay, it's turn 192, and I find myself in a difficult situation. Before I get into that, I do want to point out that when I was implying that theocracy and sovereignty were comparable, I was only taking into consideration the fact that theocracy makes temples buff city gold by 25%. I forgot about the holy sites. So in light of that and the fact that we already have a couple of holy sites, I do think this was the clear choice. But it doesn't matter, 2 turns later we get it. I did rework some tiles, so I'm making some gold. Truffles just ended from Williams, so I got a nice chunk there. And it's right on time. With that gold per turn, I should be able to update all my units and get Research Lab the turn it's available. If not, I can take out some loans and make it happen. But the thing is my holding pattern here is starting to dissipate. This, for the first time, one of his prophets actually stepped away. So what I'm going to have to do here is I'll move him over here. I'll move him up here just in case I have to give chase. He will actually start heading down this way. I'm going to stop 1 hex short and upgrade him. I do need iron. He offered me this deal like 1 turn ago, even though we haven't done the trade in a while. So I think he was like prophesying here. So I'll have him step up here and get upgraded. I'll have him step in and get upgraded. I don't want to put too many units on his borders, but I definitely want to protect that holy site, and I want to claim this defensive bonus for myself. Now, if we do go to war, 2 things to keep in mind. Number 1, he has the Great Wall, so even though I've got Kilimanjaro, I won't be able to like step in and shoot and all that fancy stuff. Also, I am playing Shoshone, so all my units have a buff for fighting within my territory. For those who don't know, like say here, I shot here, that's not, the battle takes place on the tile being attacked. So for him to shoot here, I would not get that 15% bonus. Whereas if he shot here, I would. Anyways, yeah, so there's all that. Go ahead and wait. Okay, we'll go next turn. Oh yeah, the barb camp. I forgot to mention. Part of the reason why this is such a difficult decision is I just got a notification that there's a barb camp over here. And if I'm tied up with a war over here, I don't know how soon I'll be able to get to that. So, ready? That's fine. Okay. Alrighty, well, I can actually move this worker here, move him here, move him here. And now I buy myself at least a turn, so that's good. Maybe I won't have to go to war just yet. I mean, I'm kind of ready. I do want to claim them. The only thing I was waiting for is upgrading my units. But this at least buys me a turn to get my people together. And you can upgrade. Wonder what he thinks about this sudden arms race here. Let's see, everybody's looking good. Alright. Sure, why not? I'm just about to take it back anyways. Okay, great musician is born. Let's go ahead and pop that open. Let's see where we're at here. Oh, and with that Futurism burst, we're now influential over Babylon. That's quite nice. We'll put it into Agaidika for now. Once my broadcast tower is done, I'll move it back into the capital. Oh, and speaking of moving into the capital, I meant to change these out after I finish the museum. Let's see. Still 6 turns. Still 6 turns. Still 6 turns. Okay, so I'll still get the broadcast tower just as quick, but I'll also be getting science per turn. Let's see here. Oh, and speaking of science per turn, let's go ahead and start working that tile. Okay. It's not time to declare. Uh-oh, it is time to declare war. He's taking off. Oh, and I couldn't blockade this tile if I wanted to. Okay, well he could stop and convert that, so it's time. Which is unfortunate because I'd really like to be able to upgrade him. Okay, well it is time. Let's go ahead and move on. Yep. Right. And it is a 4 charge. Woohoo! This one, yeah, is not. I'm not surprised about that yet, anyways. Great artist has been born. Okay, that means we can actually do the Hermitage theming bonus. So let's go ahead and do that. Now, unlike Oxford, Hermitage does not specify it can't be you. So one of these slots will automatically be filled by our works. We've got Renaissance and 2 Moderns. And we want to try to avoid trading with these 2 because they're cultural rivals. If it matters to you, notice Babylon's not in this list because we're at war. Something to keep in mind. So let's see, Songhai and... yeah, that'll be good. Good in terms of satisfying the requirements anyways. Okay, and there's a theming bonus there, which is good. I'm building a road. I'll get some back. Arts funding all the way. Silk. World religion fails, good. Arts funding passes, look at that. Very good. So for our policy right now, we're going to head our way to the Reformation belief. This does not work towards great people, and that's all we're going to be buying from now on, so we'll only take that to get the piety finisher. In the meantime, we're going to head towards the Reformation belief. I don't remember if I mentioned it earlier, but the Reformation belief we're going to aim for is Glory to God, I believe is what it's called. It basically allows you to buy any great person with faith, which, since we're going for cultural victory, we're talking writer, artist, musician. When you buy them, it doesn't set your timer back. You instantly get the 250 from Futurism. So this is nice synergy overall. And it also means that if you do end up having to finish with a tourism bomb, which I'll cover later, you can pretty much buy your great musician at will. So, you know, 3 or 4 great work makers for only 1,000 faith each. That's pretty good. In the event that that Reformation belief's already taken, we'll be going for sacred sites, which would turn each of our pagodas. We only have 4, but each one would be turned into +2 tourism. All right. Okay, so anyway, he's getting a little risky. Now, this is key, okay? The first one we did, World's Fair, not that critical. We do want the policy from winning and the boost in culture, especially with Hermitage. As you can see, it's been absolutely phenomenal. It's very good, not critical. The second one we did arts funding, very good, not critical. This one I would say is somewhat critical. Historical landmarks. Now, unfortunately, we're going to piss everybody off because nobody else is up to archaeology. It's not going to be as critical this particular game because we only have 1 site, but we will, if it passes, it'll also affect holy sites and academies, you know, any great person tile improvement, and that's why we're going for it. We've already got a few academies. We might plant 1 more, might not. I don't know. It depends on when our next... Oh, 2 turns. Yeah, we'll be planting another academy. And we've already got 2, soon to be 3 holy sites. We're going to be buying another prophet, 4 holy sites. When we finish piety, that's 5 holy sites. So that's why historical landmarks is so important. I know. I'm pissing everybody off. Oh, he's ready for peace. Oh, and look at this. Look at this. Look at this. Oh, what are the chances we get to have it all? Excellent. And see how it says I must accept? What this means is that not only does he accept, but he views the trade as being severely in his favor. You can see it says we're friendly. So this is very, very good because now my units can head back up north to deal with this potential situation, and I can send somebody over here to deal with this camp. Great Scientist was just born. And I haven't fully decided yet if I'm going to save to bulb. I think it's a good time to. I'm probably only going to get 1 more scientist before the internet. So 2 bulbs really isn't enough, but it's going to have to make do. Because you got to remember, it's going to take my expands times to build the research labs. And then once they're all built and working, being worked, like 6 or 8 turns after that, that's when you're going to get the most from your bulbs. So it's going to take time after this to, you know, do my tech, build these, be working it. So basically 8 turns after atomic theories researched and these are built and being worked is when the bulbs will be ripe. And with any luck, I'll be able to time 2 bulbs plus the rationalism finisher. We'll get internet as soon as possible. 3 turns away from the next social policy, 6 turns away from artist. So yeah, I will go ahead and save this scientist. And I'm going to stop the recording here because this segment's been very long. Okay, it's turn 204, and before I get into it, I just want to point out I did make a mistake. When I was building archaeologists in these cities, well, in this city, I should have been building a museum first. Mostly because it occurred to me that my capital doesn't really have anything important to build for the time being, and won't until, like, hotel. And I'll probably be attacking atomic theory first, just to make my bulbs as strong as possible, as soon as possible. So my capital could have been spending that time pumping out archaeologist after archaeologist while I set up slots elsewhere. I already was building one here, so that's good. This one will finish before scientific or plastics, so that's good. But this one will have to be put on pause, so I'll actually be behind a couple slots in the meantime. We did just pass the threshold of 1200 faith, so it's time to buy our last great prophet, or at least the last one we're going to buy. And it's only going to be the last because the price goes up to 1700, which is fine, but since we're also going to be taking a Reformation belief, see, To the Glory of God is available, so we'll do that. And now you'll see that we can actually purchase any great person we want for the first one will be 1,000 faith. So that's why I consider the 1,700 great prophet to me not worth it, because that 1,700 could also almost buy 2 great work makers, which will be more important to us. I bought it in the capital just because the only other bonus / strategic resource tile I have left is this horse, and planting it here would actually remove food. Meanwhile, my capital does have all these hill tiles, like let's go ahead and move this here so that the prophet can follow down the road and plant down. I'm working these engineer slots, which I don't need to do, So basically all the great person tile improvements are going to be happening in the capital from this point forward. And you really want that to be the case because once historical landmarks passes and these tiles are producing culture, this is the city that has Hermitage and a broadcast tower, so there are just going to be multipliers on that. I let one of my workers get captured over as I head towards this barb camp just because I don't need as many workers as I had anymore. And this is my last Geneva one, so I will be cementing my alliance with them. And they're a faith generator, so this is important. Once plastics is finished, I'll be buying a research lab in the capital, just because it's got the most base science of all my cities. And after that, my goal is mostly going to be reserved for allying city-states because we want as many votes as possible for the historical landmarks to pass. Also, it says no longer ally of Samarkand. You may have noticed that my uh, happiness has tanked, but not to worry because it was just last turn that they announced that they would like for me to connect cotton. And as you can see, we will actually be getting a copy of cotton back in 9 turns. And this is what I was talking about earlier, trading out and selling off your luxuries. You open up the possibility for the quest of cotton in this particular case. And it just so happens that over the next 9 turns, I will be growing exactly 4 citizens. So right as my happiness hits 0, I will be getting the cotton back and getting Samarkand back, and everything will be good. Okay, plastics is finished and a great writer is born. So let's go ahead and purchase a research lab. I don't have any free citizens to give up, so I'll transfer one of these guys. Excuse me. Let's go ahead and start building a cannon. I'm choosing cannon because I'm at the point now where my archers only have 1 range, and I'd rather have more range. Let's see here. Move the scientist in, and we'll have these 2 trade spots. Just because he's got Kilimanjaro and I can hop the hills and rivers no problem. So the scientist is safe once again. Go ahead and put up research labs in all my cities. Yeah, I bought one there. And now we'll be able to start using our gold for city-states. Let's see here. Get that rider taken care of.
2 monarchs there.
I didn't see where it was going to go, so I'll just double check here. Make sure it stays in the capital if at all possible, just because we got the culture multipliers. And now I'm going to start teching for scientific theory. Basically, my research labs and atomic theory being taken care of as soon as possible will mean after that my bulbs will be as strong as possible. Alternatively, you can go ahead and say, since I was saying my capital didn't have anything to build, I could have gone biology just to give my workers maybe something to do, find the oil, build another trade route, and then refrigeration to build a hotel, and then go atomic theory. But we're doing good in science, but we're actually catching up in social policies, so I want to get to my bulbs to be as big as possible, because we might be able to go bulb rationalism finisher and get internet. That would be just great. Okay, it's turn 211, and I just got my next great musician. Go ahead and create a great work. I had forgotten to move that, that's the second great work of music that didn't make any noise. I had forgotten to move the other one into my broadcast tower when it was finished built, so now that's taken care of. The other thing I wanted to point out that I forgot to mention is when you're counting out all the antiquity sites you have access to and how many slots you have, and you're trying to plan how many archaeologists to build and something like that, this is another nice feature of Enhanced User Interface mod. If you click on this here, you can it'll actually give you the number. Like right now we have 1 great scientist total, we have 4 archaeologists total, and since they're all working on antiquity sites that I won't be that aren't within workable tile ranges, we can come up here and say, okay, 4, okay, fill those 4, I'll have 3 slots left, I got a great artist coming up here, we'll be buying one with faith, I still got another museum. You can kind of plan out how you're going to do that. Okay, it's 215, and we now get to take the Piety Finisher, which not only gives us a free great profit, but also allows holy sites to generate tourism, which is really good because hotels, airports, and the National Visitor Center will actually translate some of that culture into tourism. Uh, I did build my 2 cannons, and I'm sending them. I sent them off to get altitude training up here because I forgot to at first. I did go back to building a archaeologist, and the reason for that is because um, I do have this antiquity site that I want to turn into a historical, or excuse me, a landmark, so that when we vote for historical landmarks, I can get extra culture off of that. I'll move my
Stel
spy
verga
next
lo
turn
sarà.
while I'm thinking about it, because
Ik geloof dat ik iets heb.
I'll think about it. I'll think about it. Alright. So I'll go ahead and move my spy before I forget. You want to do it when this says 7 or more, simply because it takes 1 turn to move there, 5 turns to make introductions, and then on the 7th turn you can buy, and you can't buy while it's in session. So when this says 7 or above is when you want to make your move. Now let's see here. Venice has the most votes. I don't think that matters though, because Forbidden Palace and Ally City-State votes are not what you're buying. You're buying their core delegation, I believe. I believe that's how it works. And just to double check, let me check my tourism influence and see. After Denmark and Ethiopia, or Netherlands and Ethiopia, Denmark and Greece are the 2 top ones, and they both hate me. So I'm actually going to go with Venice. They have the most votes, which I don't think matters, and they're friendliest, which means I'll get taken for the least amount of money when I go to buy their votes. Okay, so that's taken care of. And now we have enough faith to buy our first Great Workmaker. Whoops, I'll have to buy them back. I'm going to go with an artist first for a few reasons. Number one, we have a city-state that's looking for it. I'm already allied with them, so that's not that big of a deal. Another reason is because artist is the next one I'm actually going to get, see 5 turns, and I wanted to demonstrate that buying one won't actually push your timer back, which is really nice. And the other reason is because, like I was saying before about planning ahead with how many archaeologists you're going to build and stuff like that, since I know I'm probably going to buy a great artist at some point anyways, if I front load it, then that means I can fill in the slots, and then as I'm planning how many archaeologists to build, I don't accidentally overlook that. Because you are going to be limited on the amount of art slots you got. And keep in mind too, if you end up filling them all by quote-unquote accident, I think you can swap for other great works. I've never tried. But the great artist can still generate a golden age, so it's not the end of the world. I did want to talk a little bit about the museum theming bonus, though. Um, Basically, it's either both art or both artifact, both from the same era, and either both from the city's civilization, which in this case is Shoshone, or both from civilizations other than the city owner, so not Shoshone. And then you'll get +2. Now see how this one has +1? Museums actually give partial credit. Like these two are both artifacts and both Shoshone, but they're not from the same era, and that's why I'm not getting full credit. Like this here is ancient era, and that's ancient era. So if I swap these, again, both artifact, both ancient era, so I get partial credit, but they're not both either my civ or not my civ. So partial credit. I just wanted to point out that that's a thing. Okay, it's turn 221. A little fun fact here: our borders. We can't work this tile, but our borders actually grew to encompass this aluminum. So they've had a city here for a long time, but they haven't grown to there. So anyways, we had 2 great people grown this turn. Because I've got another scientist, that's the second one that I'm holding on to right now, and I got another one coming in 10 turns, it could be argued that the last one I probably should have turned into an academy. On the other hand, being able to bulb 3 of them on the way and then take the Rationalism finisher might get us a real fast internet, I don't know. If not, then we can always use it to bulb radar later on as we come back so that we can build airports. But we are going to aim for internet first, so I'm not sure if it was a mistake to save the last one or not. As for the Great Artist, another reason to have bought the Great Artist first with Faith that I hadn't considered at the time was we're 3 turns away from jumping era. So by having these 2 back to back, I should be able to, yeah. Yep, do a full-on theming bonus there. So that's another consideration I hadn't thought of. Also, since I'm already recording and we're just a few turns away from the vote, I'm going to go ahead and buy votes now. You want to do it as close to the voting as possible so you don't screw yourself out of the gold too soon. What do you want for this? Okay, I can live with that. That's a little better than I was thinking they were going to ask for. What do you want for this? Yeah, see, that looks more like what I was expecting.
Uitstekend.
It's okay. It's that important to me. Oh, okay. Alright, so I wanted to do this since I'm already recording, but I can't with Venice because it's one more turn away from making introductions. But you get the idea. It sucks to have to give them that much, but I really want this to pass. We're already making culture here. Those will have more culture. All of our academies will suddenly have culture. Our landmark will have more culture. So I don't think it'll work on Kilimanjaro, but whatever. Okay, it's now turn 224. The Babylonian prophet's still buzzing around. I don't know if I'm going to declare war on him or not. I could definitely use another holy site, no doubt there. Speaking of which, let's go ahead and assign delegates. You can assign your full complement by right-clicking rather than left-clicking. I don't think we're going to lose this one, but you never know. Also, we got a new spy, and since I had moved my one out of the capital, I'll go ahead and move that in. Next turn, I'll move this into Athens. Actually, let's go ahead and move this into Athens now, and we'll bring the high-ranking spy back into my capital next turn. I don't know if it matters, like I've already bought the votes, but just in case, I'll have to revisit that in a second. 253. Okay, 280. Alright, so I went up, what's that, 27 culture? Because historical landmarks passes. So now every academy I have produces 2 culture. Every holy site produces 2 more culture. This landmark, once it's finished, will produce 4 culture more than it would have otherwise done. Anyways, one of the reasons I kept recording is I wanted to show this. Next, what we're going to propose is the international games, because first place is double tourism. I don't think we're going to need this. I honestly think that we're going to win before that, and there's several reasons. I do have 2 great scientists waiting for me. I'll have another one in 6 turns. So let's see, in about 5 turns I'll be done with refrigeration. I can bulb penicillin, bulb ecology, and not fully. Like I'll probably bulb and have 1 turn to go, and then I'll bulb this and have 2 turns to go. And then my next great scientist will be ready, so I won't actually need it. I'll need to bulb penicillin, ecology, and telecommunications. So we have 1,000 faith, and normally I'd say let's go ahead and buy a writer and save the musician as the last great work maker to buy, simply because we might use them to culture bomb. And culture bomb just means when a great musician is born, they take your current tourism times 10, and they can perform a concert tour worth that much. Now, obviously, right now that would be a total waste because it would only be 410. But we're going to get a bunch of multipliers here soon, and this number is going to go into like the 2, 3, 400s. So 10 times that would be quite large. And then what you do is you take that great musician into someplace you got open borders, perform a rock concert, and they do a one-time bulb of tourism in the amount that they're valued at. And they'll also do 20% of that amount to all other civs. So usually it's a great way to kind of finish off a cultural victory. You don't have to do it that way, but that's just one way you can speed things up. So normally I'd say let's buy a writer now and then buy a musician later. But I'm not going to for 2 reasons. Oh, I lost my train of thought. Oh yeah, first of all, the timing of this is sort of bad. Like, we've got all the culture policy or the social policies that we want. All that's left is the rationalism finisher for a free tech. And it's too soon. It's just too soon. You want to do that when you're later on. Like if you can use the free tech to pick up like telecommunications or the internet, you get a lot more bang for your buck than if I was to take it now and only get like penicillin. So we're going to hold off on that. The problem is let's say I do the patronage, or I'd come in here with aesthetics or something like that. My next social policy would probably be 15 turns, give or take, away. And that means I won't be able to get this in time to get a free tech. That would take me into telecommunications or the internet. And again, I'm planning ahead. I've got 2 scientists right now, and I'll have another one in 6 turns. So I'm thinking bulb, bulb, bulb. And then I'll be ready to finish off rationalism, but I won't necessarily be in line for it culture-wise. So if I save my faith and purchase a great writer later, I can use the great writer. I mean, I could purchase him now, but he'll just be taking up maintenance costs unnecessarily. I think they're worth your last 8 turns of culture game as a one-time. You can have them sign trees, and gives you one-time burst. So like if this said 8, we'd basically be able to do the treatise and have our next social policy right away. So by waiting and buying my great writer in a little bit, because we are doing quite good faith, I can do 10 per turn. I should be able to make it to where I bulb scientist, bulb scientist, bulb scientist, and then right when I'm ready to use a free tech to buy the internet, I can use a writer to hurry up the rationalism finisher, which will give me a free tech, get me the internet that much sooner. Also, in the meantime, like we're probably going to generate, since we're doing 100 per turn, we're probably going to, by the time we have another 1,000, we're not going to be ready for the musician. So I might actually purchase a great engineer and rush the National Visitor Center. Now that's kind of a waste because the National Visitor Center, you can see, is only 520 hammers. I did go ahead and build the windmill here, so 60 hammers. That's what, 8-9 turns. But again, if it's something that we can use to make the culture victory come faster, that might be something I pursue. And I have that option simply because my faith generation is pretty good. We've got the 2 religious city-states as allies. We got the Grand Temple up early, so this is what I'm looking at moving forward. We'll have to see how things time out, but it's looking pretty good. Okay, it's turn 229, and unfortunately I'm being made to take a policy. We did such a good job with the culture game that the last policy we actually want to take would be the rationalism opener or finisher, and it's too soon. So I could go patronage since I've got a lot of city-state allies. You can go aesthetics to do the free great artist. I could even go here to do the plus 25% production with military units because I have been building some military. So. But we're technologically quite advanced, and we've been holding off Greece so far. So I'm just going to go ahead and take the patronage opener. So let's go ahead and hit next turn. Oh, you get to see the landmark being made. Okay, and I am working it. I lost the trading post, so I lose a little bit of science, but my culture goes up. So now in 13 turns, we'll have the next one. Yeah, for now. Unfortunately, Greece's borders grew to encompass a antiquity site that I was already digging on. So when I dig that up, they're going to get upset with me. And as long as I placate them, it should be okay. I was trying to avoid that. Like, I had the option of coming here, and I was trying to avoid that with Greece specifically just because of the tensions that are here between us right now, but looks like I'm not going to have too much of a choice. That's okay. Alright, move there. Anyways, refrigeration is now done, and this means that I'm going to be building hotels in every one of my cities. 6 turns is good. 7 turns is okay. 4 turns, obviously it's the capital, it's going to be really good. We'll switch to hotel. 8 turns, can I speed that up? 7 turns. Okay, so 7 turns, 6 turns, 7 turns. Good enough. Alrighty, so now we'll go ahead and choose penicillin. And we will bulb a scientist. Gets that instantly. And then we'll select ecology and bulb our other scientist. He's over here, right? Yeah, there he is. 8455, just want to point that out because we've had an amazing science game so far. Alright, now we'll go ahead and switch telecommunications. get another great scientist next turn. So before I forget, I'm going to go ahead and purchase the great writer. And keep in mind, because of Futurism, this will give me 250 culture, or tourism against every civilization. Just like that. And the point being is that come when this says 8 turns, I'll be able to use a treatise to get my next social policy immediately, take rationalism, and use the free tech to take internet, which is perfect because it's the most the most expensive tier of tech. So it'll never get more valuable than that, except for maybe future tech. I don't know. I've never tried. Oh, you know what? I may have built too many archaeologists. I've got 3 in play, and I've got 3 slots. When's my next great artist? 21 turns. For that reason, when this one's done, I might just make a landmark for him. That'll actually boost relations, so that'll be good. Alright, so the great scientist was born, so we'll go ahead and bomb that. You'll notice it's a little bit stronger than the last one. That's because it's a rotating window of your last... I've heard 8 turns, but I don't think it's quite that. But anyway, so now we have telecommunications. We're brought into the information era. I could start researching the internet, but there's no need. Like I said, we're going to force the issue of the rationalism finisher to get that for free. So we're basically going to go straight for radar. So we'll take military science. We'll start using our gold to upgrade our units as we get the tech for it. So we're actually going to tell the writer to sit tight for 3 turns, and we'll use him then. Okay, it's turn 233, and we've got a great musician born. Notice I'm doing 41 tourism per turn, so their rock concert strength is 410, 10 times that. Now, unlike writers and scientists, this value will never change no matter what, so something to keep in mind. And why the ability to faith by a great musician is actually a pretty powerful tool when going for a cultural victory. I'm going to have to figure out why those aren't playing music. And I didn't hear a voiceover in my last great work of art either. Okay, so it's time to go to the next turn, but I'm about to finish a hotel, so I want to point out right now my tourism is 43 per turn. Oh, excuse me, it might actually be higher after I do this. It was a Shoshone, and I do have other Shoshone things, don't I? Shoshone Ancient, Shoshone Ancient. There we go, that'll bump that up. Alrighty. So that's good. Alright, so it's 46 right now. Hotel's about to finish in the capital. No, I'm not selling any aluminum now. I might need him for rocket infantry, or rocket artillery. Okay, jumped from 46 to 65. That is significant. And the thing to keep in mind is it's not just going by the great works in the capital, it's also going by these. I've got, what, 2 academies, so there's 4 culture, and then 14 culture here, so it should say I'm getting 7 tourism from 50% of the culture from world wonders, natural wonders, and improvements. So there's 7 tourism I'm getting this turn that I wasn't last turn, just because of that hotel, and I'm building them in other cities too, mostly as a requisite for the National Visitor Center, but they've all got holy sites and academies in them. Anyways, now we're at the 8 turn mark for our social policy, so I'm going to go ahead and hit Write Political Treatise, and that takes us exactly where we want to go. So I hit the Rationalism finisher, which gives us a free tech, and again 65 tourism. Now that we got internet, it's 130. So we just tripled our tourism per turn. That's per turn. Keep in mind all the great work makers that we generate are Futurism given 250, so we're already starting to catch up. See here, 4,900 versus 8,600. We're in less than 4,000 away, and we've still got the airports to build. We got hotels coming up in other cities, so it's going to be real close here, real close. In fact, I think I will next turn buy a great engineer with faith just to get the National Visitor Center up as quickly as possible, because as you can see I usually have a pretty tight science game. That's in Greece's borders. We've got 2 archaeologists, including that one. We've got 2 slots total. Next artist is coming in 18 turns. I don't know that we're going to need that. So I'm going to go ahead and take it. Let's see here. Denmark, ancient. Ancient. Okay, so we go here and we get another one. Good. That's pretty handy. Now Greece is going to yell at us. Okay. Well, we got 1,000 faith now, and I'm going to go ahead and purchase a great engineer. The reason being is hotels will be done in all my cities in 2 turns, and the great engineer will make it to where 3 turns from now the National Visitor Center will be up. Now the National Visitor Center isn't as good as the internet, but it's the second best. 100% modifier to landmarks and tile improvements. So, oh, and I forgot to mention when I took up the internet is king. Alright, when it comes to a cultural victory, all the different modifiers for tourism, yada yada yada, you calculate all of that, and then the internet doubles it. It's not like the National Visitor Center will only deal great works of art and tile improvements and stuff like that. So anyways, before I forget, I want to go ahead and purchase a great engineer. And again, I'm being very indulgent here. You don't need a great engineer. You can hard build the National Visitor Center. It's not a problem. It's just because I was able to bulb with my scientist and writer. I'm going to keep on going like that. Because in 10 turns I'll be able to buy my musician. And that might be good enough as far as time goes. We will have to see. Okay, it's turn 237. I now have finished hotels in every city. So I'm going to go ahead and queue up the National Visitor Center. Make sure it's first. And then go ahead and rush it. Poof. Okay, so tourism per turns 192. We're going to keep an eye on that. Before we do, I just want to point out that I got a prompt just now saying that I'm down to only two cultures needed. Or excuse me, 2 civilizations needed for a cultural victory. Obviously, it's going to be the Netherlands and Ethiopia. So I'm basically going to move my other 2 spies. Now, at this point, the only 2 city-states I don't have an ally with is Ragusa and Prague. So I'm going to move my spies over there and attempt a coup, because there's really nothing to lose at this point. So, alright, what was the other one? Prague. There we go. Alright, so I'm going to hit next turn, so the National Visitor Center. 192 is our current tourism per turn. Yep. Not a problem. So from 192, we jump up to 270.
So powerful.
Thank you, National Visitor Center. And now you can see why I splurged for the great engineer. And I just finished railroad, and as it turns out, check this out. This worker can do 1, 2, 3, 4 tiles. This worker will do 1, 2, 3, 4 tiles. This worker will do 1, 2, 3, 4 tiles. And this worker is moving in, and he'll, because he's starting late, 1, 2, 3 tiles. So I'll have that all hooked up with railroads shortly here. And the reason why that's actually a little cool is because, yeah, it's going to be 4 turns for ballistics. It just so happens, was this a city? Yeah, 5 turns for a great scientist. So I'll actually also be able to bulb radar and start building airports immediately. So this faith can't come fast enough. In fact, after I'm done building this bank here, which is just a filler build, I didn't have to build it, I'm probably going to build a settler and like come out here and settle a city that I can sell to Ethiopia, so I can purchase a great musician and move it over there and finish the game, I'm hoping. That's the plan anyways. Okay, it's turn 242 and we had a great writer born. There's no need to bulb him, so I'm just going to do this to add to the tourism. 270, and now it jumps up to 276. So that's from the National Visitor Center and the internet, of course. Let's see here, it doesn't really matter what I build, because next turn I'm getting a great scientist. I already have a settler in place down here. ready to sell Ethiopia a city, so I can culture bomb them. Not yet. 2 turns I'll be able to buy that great musician. Anyways, we bulb, radar, and now I can build
Vision is the art of
airports
seeing.
everywhere. So that is what I am going to do. In fact, I got one more. I might as well, let's see, we just made a writer, so there we go, max production. Get that tourism up as fast as possible. 2 turns from now, we're gonna buy a musician, or maybe we'll wait for the airports to finish up, or one of the airports to finish up. It's important to take a look at this. Yeah, look at that. 9722. We're within 2,000, so great musician, as soon as I can buy it, will be good enough. Okay, it's turned 245, and now I have enough faith to buy the great musician, so that's what I'm going to do. Great musician. And there we go. We are just a couple turns away from winning, I do believe. Okay, so we'll move him towards my settler. I'll go ahead and settle. It doesn't matter what I work or what I choose to do here. Go ahead and move him out to protect the musician. Demlock is grown, don't care. Culture victory imminent, you got that right. Because we are actually 1,200 away, and that great musician's worth 2.5 times that. The only downside is I never got a chance to finish my railroads or the airports. No, 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 no. Nothing to pad the video further. Alright, so what we do now is Pohauki. Let's see, it was the Netherlands, right? Yep. We go to him.
Wederom
And we
gegroet.
offer him the city.
Ik hoor.
As you can see by how small the gap is, I don't have to do this.
Ik geloof dat ik iets heb dat u enig belang
That's a
zal.
funny bet. There we go. And since we have open borders, I can move in. We can do the rock concert. And a one-time boost of 2760 and 20% of that to all other. So yeah, that's the culture victory. Go ahead and we have to hit next turn in order to actually realize it. And there you go.
You have achieved victory through the
Hey,
awesome power of
turn
our
248
Your
on Emperor
civilization's
Wonderless
greatness,
Culture Victory.
magnificence of its monument,
I hope you
and the
guys
power of
enjoyed
its
watching
purpose
this. I
has
have had an
astounded the
absolute
world.
blast. I've been
Poets will
dedicating the
honor
better
you
part of a
for as
month
long
to
as
this
beauty
project,
brings
trying
gladness
different
to a
playthroughs,
weary
different
heart.
approaches, trying to figure out what's the tightest way to do this so that I could put on the best show possible. I'm really sorry for the length, but I'm hoping you found a great deal of value in any of the information I provided. By all means, if there's any way you can correct me or help me improve my game too, please leave them in the comments. Let me know, because I'm definitely interested. In the meantime, thank you so much. Hit subscribe if you don't mind. I try to do these based on what I see people talking about, try to help out where I can. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.